Chapter 2550. Although Demonic Saint had expected Su Fong to be nearby, he did not expect Su Fong to be able to hide in the high-grade energy from beyond the heavens. He immediately focused his attention on the yellow cloud, as if he was facing a formidable enemy. Who knew whoosh? Su Fong used an ability that transcended the heavens and earth and disappeared from the yellow cloud. When he reappeared, he was already behind Demonic Saint. Whoosh! Whoosh! Su Fong immediately activated the Heaven Supervisor token as soon as he appeared. It erupted with Heavenly Tao Order power, condensing into black Heavenly Tao Order chains that snaked toward Demonic Saint. An intermediate lord, such a shocking improvement speed. Oomph. So what if you're an intermediate lord? If you hadn't schemed to possess Fu Sha and ambush me previously, would you have succeeded? This time, I'll make sure you never return. Demonic Saint roared domineeringly as demonic aura surged out of his massive body. It swept out like a tidal wave, blocking the shackles of the Heavenly Tao Order chains. At that moment, the Temple Lord also began his attack. The might of the icy world descended, enveloping Demonic Saint and quickly turning it into a cold, icy world. The cold aura rolled over, trying to freeze Demonic Saint's demonic aura and body. As expected of the number one great demon below, the ancestral fiends. Faced with Su Fong and the Temple Lord's combined attacks, Demonic Saint's demonic flames still burned brightly. He fully displayed the demon's powerful physical body as he brandished his demonic claws, constantly shattering the Temple Lord's world and the Heavenly Tao Order chains. Su Fong and the Temple Lord joined forces, but they could not do anything to Demonic Saint in a short period of time. All they could do was suppress him. Su Fong was not anxious at all. He commanded the Temple Lord to fight the ancestral fiend in an orderly manner. Demonic Saint saw through Su Fong's intentions and sneered disdainfully. You're trying to buy time and exhaust my demonic aura? Oomph, I'm a brute fiend. My most powerful aspect is my physical body. Although I'm shackled in the Advent God Palace, the consumption is minimal. In the end, the ones who can't hold on will be you and the Temple Lord. When that happens, I'll make sure you have nowhere to run. Is that so? I'm afraid you'll be greatly disappointed. Su Fong activated his Heaven Supervisor token without any hesitation. At the same time, he cast his Heavenly Tao Dharma characteristic and launched a ferocious attack at Fiend Celestial Sage. After more than 2 hours, Devil Sky and Devil Saint realized that something was wrong. The Great Cold Emperor had consumed too much energy, and his strength had decreased sharply. His attacks had weakened by more than half, and he could no longer pose a threat to the Devil Sky Demon Saint. Su Fong, on the other hand, unleashed his divine ability without any hesitation, causing a huge threat to the Devil Sky Demon Saint. At the same time, the Devil Sky Demon Saint was incomparably shocked by his boundless energy and boundless mana. Motion Demon Saint was shocked to discover that the high-level energy of outer space did not have much effect on Su Fong. Not only that, but Su Fong could also absorb the high-level energy to recover and even control it. This discovery caused the Devil Saint's heart to sink to the bottom. What made the Devil Sky Demon Saint especially shocked and helpless was that Su Fong would occasionally use his transcendence ability to jump out of the world and then suddenly attack, causing him heavy injuries time and time again. The Devil Sky Demon Saint, a peerless great demon, was also wary and fearful of Su Fong and did not dare to continue fighting with Su Fong. One hand holding up the heavens, overturning palm, destroying the heavens. Great Barbarian overturning Sky Seal. The Devil Sky Demon Saint unleashed a huge black palm print that was thousands of feet long. Demonic chi filled the sky as it slammed down on Su Fong. Great Divine Destruction Fist. Su Fong used the Great Divine Destruction Fist and clashed with the Devil Sky Demon Saint's top divine ability. Rumble. The power of the collision caused the second level of the Advent Divine Palace to tremble violently. Puff, the Devil Sky Demon Saint's palm print was shattered by the power of the Great Divine Destruction Fist, and even his huge body was sent flying. Blood spurted out of his mouth like a fountain, and his body rapidly shrank to its normal state. Su Fong, on the other hand, remained unmoved. This collision actually ended with Su Fong's complete victory. This person is heaven-defying. Even if the saint is at his peak state, it will be difficult to kill him. If he activates the Origin Divine Mirror, he might even be able to kill this saint. The Devil Sky Demon Saint had to accept the cruel reality. Borrowing the force of the impact, he charged straight for the entrance of the Dark Casting Palace. Ha! A black Xianguang appeared in front of the Devil Sky Demon Saint's head at lightning speed. Although the Devil Sky Demon Saint sensed it, he was shackled and was in a heavily injured state, so his movements were far slower than normal. When the black Xianguang hit his forehead, his divine aperture's defense shook for a moment before it shattered, and the second primordial spirit charged into his divine aperture. At this moment, the Temple Sovereign unleashed all his power. The strange cold chi from his origin surged and enveloped the Devil Sky Demon Saint's body. It penetrated his defense and instantly froze him. Su Fong also unleashed the Ancestor Devil Bloodplate and performed a shocking primordial spirit attack to assist the second primordial spirit in launching a fierce attack on the Devil Sky Demon Saint's primordial spirit. At the same time, he was preparing to use the Azure Blood Dome to cooperate with the second primordial spirit to devour the Devil Sky Demon Saint's body. Suddenly, Ancestral Gragon's voice came from his inner world. "Wait." Su Fong responded, "Old dragon, what's the matter?" Ancestral Gragon smiled embarrassedly. "Well, can you give this demon god's body to this ancestor?" Su Fong was stunned. "I worked hard to suppress the Devil Sky Demon Saint. Why should I give it to you?" Ancestral Gragon said in a flattering tone, "This demon god's body has boundless blood chi. If this ancestor devours it, this ancestor can quickly recover some of my strength. At that time, it will be easier for me to serve you, right?" Su Fong thought for a moment and said decisively, "Since you want it, I'll give it to you." Ancestral Gragon didn't expect Su Fong to agree so straightforwardly this time, which surprised him. "You really agree to give this demon god's body to this ancestor, and you're not just toying with this ancestor?" Su Fong said, "I, Su Fong, have never been a stingy person. As long as you serve me sincerely, I am even willing to take out the soul marrow nether elixir. What is a mere demon saint's body? You are so young, but your actions are so magnanimous." This ancestor is impressed. Ancestral Gragon didn't stand on ceremony and immediately released a powerful divine might from Su Fong's inner world. It came out of Su Fong's body and wrapped around the Devil Sky Demon Saint's body. The Devil Sky Demon Saint was still resisting, but under Ancestral Gragon's powerful divine might, he, the number one great demon below the Ancestor Fiends, was like a weak chicken as he was sucked into Su Fong's inner world by Ancestral Gragon. Ancestral Gragon was actually able to ignore the universe shackles in Su Fong's inner world and easily release his divine might to capture a demon saint. Such powerful strength shocked Su Fong. This old dragon, despite being severely injured, still had such strength. His strength far exceeded Su Fong's imagination. Ancestral Gragon released a surge of dragon chi and shackled the Devil Sky Demon Saint. Then, Su Fong let his second primordial spirit out of the Devil Sky Demon Saint's divine aperture. When the Devil Sky Demon Saint saw the Ancestral Gragon transformed into a golden-robed middle-aged man and sensed his incorporeal aura, he immediately trembled. You are a transcender. You possess such astonishing dragon chi. You are the sealed Ancestral Gragon. How did you break the seal and appear in Su Fong's inner world?" Ancestral Gragon smiled coldly. "Do I need to explain to a demon like you? To be able to become nutrients for this Ancestral Gragon's recovery, you can be considered to have died a worthy death." After saying that, Ancestral Gragon opened his mouth and sucked, releasing an astonishing dragon roar. The Devil Sky Demon Saint's body actually collapsed and shattered layer by layer, turning into a pool of blood. Together with the Black Devil Chi, they were all sucked into ancestral Gragon's mouth. As expected of the ancestral Gragon, the Devil Sky Demon Saint's blood contained terrifying devil poison. He didn't care at all and simply devoured it as a tonic. Even the primordial spirit was swallowed by ancestral Gragon like a whale swallowing fish and shrimp. Just like that, a peerless great demon with heaven-defying strength was devoured by ancestral Gragon and became nutrients for his recovery. After completely devouring the Devil Sky Demon Saint, ancestral Gragon's aura rapidly rose. Although it was far from his peak state, his aura was more than 10 times more vast than before. This was the powerful recovery ability of the dragon race. Ancestral Gragon's recovery ability was far superior to any other divine dragon. Ancestral Gragon cupped his fist towards Su Fong Sun God and said, "Kid, thanks for this time." Su Fong knew that although Ancestral Gragon wasn't completely loyal, at least he didn't have any thoughts of rebelling. It seemed that giving the Devil Sky Demon Saint's body to Ancestral Gragon was quite worth it. Then, Su Fong used his mind to sweep over 3 drops of soul marrow nether milk and let Ancestral Gragon recover his primordial spirit. Su Fong was so generous and didn't care about the past. Ancestral Gragon couldn't help but sigh at his magnanimity and domineering attitude. He completely cut off any thoughts of getting rid of Su Fong. Su Fong retrieved the Sun God and second primordial spirit, and then put the Moon the Arch into the prison suppressing codex. The Moon the Arch had expended a lot of energy this time, mainly because he had used his origin energy. A large amount of his blood chi and energy had been devoured by the high-level energy. Su Fong took out elixirs and let the Moon the Arch continue recovering in the prison suppressing codex. Then, Su Fong went to the rock. Zhu Yin and the other cultivators, as well as the big goblin, were shackled in the demonic tripod. They thought that they would definitely die this time. When Su Fong released them from the demonic tripod, the cultivators and the big goblin were both surprised and delighted. Zhu Yin knelt to Su Fong. "Master, I didn't expect you to save me again this time. Quickly find a way to recover." Su Fong first put Zhu Yin and his master into the Builderwood space in his inner world to let them recover their strength. Then, the divine light swept over the remaining cultivators and the big goblin. Those who dared to enter the Advent God Palace were all true experts. These cultivators and the big goblin were all experts at the Lord level. 2 of them were even as strong as the Heavenly King. The Heavenly King and the Heavenly King, Shao Lijun. In all the worlds, these experts were peerless existences who could cause the world to change colors with a stomp of their feet. But in the Advent God Palace, they were nothing. Not even their corpses were left behind after death. QL11 Su Fong said majestically, "I am Su Fong. This time, I saved you from the demonic Sky Demon Saint. Of course, I won't save you for nothing. Now, you have 2 choices. 1, submit to me and become my slaves. 2, I will throw you here and let you fend for yourselves." These cultivators and the big goblin had just escaped death. Although they hadn't experienced the terrifying explosion of energy from beyond the heavens, they could feel the shocking shackles around them. Their lives, primordial spirits, and divine yuan were all draining away. It wouldn't be long before they died. Who didn't want to live? These cultivators and the big goblin all knelt to Su Fong, expressing their willingness to submit to Su Fong. Su Fong immediately used the power of yin and yang and primordial spirits as the source to cast a seal. He planted seal seeds in the primordial spirits and bodies of these cultivators and the big goblin. With Su Fong's current strength, he wasn't afraid that his Lord-level subordinates would rebel. But for safety's sake, he had to leave behind a method to control them. Chapter 25:51. Whoosh. As soon as he entered the dark casting palace, shocking flames rolled toward him. Su Fong took a deep breath, and the fiery aura turned into a fire snake that was directly sucked into his stomach. Comfortable, so comfortable. The divine yang aura contained in the flames made every pore on Su Fong's body feel comfortable. Sensing this aura, the dragon bird also became excited. It used Su Fong's divine might to wantonly devour the divine yang aura. This fire type and divine yang aura came from the treasure refining pool inside the dark casting palace. The treasure refining pool was refined by a heavenly venerate in the Tang Valley. The aura it emitted was the best spirit chi for Su Fong and the dragon bird to cultivate. If I cultivate here, I believe that it won't take long for me to form another yang meridian. However, I should focus on seizing treasures first. Su Fong craved the Jiushuan divine artifact as he walked down from the entrance. The deeper he went, the hotter it became. After going 3,000 feet underground, even Su Fong could not bear it anymore. He had no choice but to absorb the cold aura from the Origin Sacred Mirror to resist the shocking divine flame aura. After passing through a broken barrier, Su Fong felt as if he had arrived at an independent space-time. He focused his gaze. The entire world was fiery red, and there were burning flames everywhere. Apart from the drifting ashes, he could not see anything else. The dark casting palace was actually a world of flames. Occasionally, a sharp fiery sword aura would cut through space. It felt as if the entire space-time had been split into two, and it only returned to normal after a long time. These sword auras were clearly released by the powerful prototype of the Xian Bao. Su Fong knew that with his current strength, he would be heavily injured even if he did not die if he was hit by the sword aura. What a treasure! That prototype of the Xian Bao is indeed a good treasure. Su Fong's heart was burning. He sensed the remnant fate aura of heavenly venerate True Yang and the experts of the Tao Defiance Alliance as he flew deeper into the dark casting palace. Gradually, Su Fong felt that something was wrong. The deeper he went, not only did the might of the flames become more shocking, but the sword chi also became more powerful. Moreover, the divine might of the flames continued to seep into his body, causing his divine body and energy to burn uncontrollably. His flesh, blood, meridians, and bones were all burning. Even his primordial spirit, Tao Heart, and Tao Heart were affected and were burning as well. At this moment, Su Fong did not feel the slightest bit of comfort. Instead, he felt fear. That's not right. The Dark Cast Hall's flame divine might can actually turn life into a flame state and control the might of one's soul consciousness. Su Fong immediately became alert. He immediately activated the 9 suns, 9 transformations to fuse and refine the divine flame power that was seeping into his body. As a result, Su Fong gradually returned to normal. Furthermore, he was constantly in a state of cultivation. The yang energy in his yang vein, the 9 yang divine fire, and the yin-yang world tree were constantly recovering and even improving. Whoosh! Whoosh! There were 3 figures pouncing straight towards Su Fong. Surprisingly, there were 3 cultivators. However, their entire bodies were burning. They were completely like 3 firemen, just like Su Fong in his illusory fire cloud state. These 3 firemen seemed to have lost their self-awareness and were not afraid of death. However, their strength was shocking. All of them had the strength of a peak lord. These should be cultivators who accidentally entered the Dark Cast Hall in the past. They were unknowingly controlled by the flames and turned into puppets. I don't know if someone is controlling these puppets. If that's the case, this Dark Cast Hall is much more dangerous than I imagined. Su Fong was secretly shocked, but he did not panic. He used the illusory fire cloud state and turned into a burning fire cloud state. With a whoosh, he swept toward the 3 firemen. Although the strength of those fire people was not ordinary, when Su Fong's 9 yang divine fire appeared, the fire gods might suppress the surrounding flames and control them. The firemen fell into the fire world formed by the illusory fire cloud, and Su Fong constantly devoured their fire essence. After about half an hour, the 3 firemen were completely devoured by Su Fong. They continued forward, passing through layers of fire worlds. Su Fong kept encountering firemen. Although the strongest was only a peak lord and had not reached the level of sovereign, their numbers kept increasing. Su Fong had no choice but to keep a respectful distance. Fortunately, Su Fong's yin and yang forces could constantly merge with the surrounding flames. Otherwise, even if he could avoid the firemen's attacks, he would eventually become a puppet like them. Whoosh! Another flaming man leaped across the sky and charged over. He actually teleported and appeared in front of Su Fong in an instant. Unlike the flaming man Su Fong had encountered before, this flaming man had just turned into a flaming man and still had a part of his body left. Su Fong could also vaguely make out his face. It was the Emperor Master from the Brahmin clan. Even the sovereign from Sanskrit turned into a fireman. This dark caste hall is so dangerous. Su Fongdao was shocked. Even with the strength of a sovereign, he could not escape the fate of being controlled. The dark caste hall was more than 10 times more dangerous than what Sovereign Tru Yang had described. Whoosh! Fondi had already lost consciousness. When he sensed Su Fong's life aura, he immediately launched a violent and ferocious attack at Su Fong. Su Fong had no choice but to use the illusory fire cloud to fight Fondi. Su Fong discovered that after Fondi turned into a half-burning state, he could no longer use his previous divine powers. He could only use a single flame attack. However, the flames were truly astonishing. They contained the power of the divine sun and a high-grade energy aura from beyond the heavens. They were even stronger than Fondi's previous strength. Now that they were in a shocking world of fire, Su Fong was shackled. However, not only was Fondi not shackled, he was like a fish in water. He was clearly at a disadvantage in the confrontation with Fondi. More than a dozen firemen charged over and joined forces with Fondi's fireman to launch a fierce attack on Su Fong. Su Fong had no choice but to escape. With Su Fong's ability to transcend the heavens and earth, even Fondi, who had turned into a fireman, would find it difficult to catch up to him. Su Fong successfully escaped. After escaping to an area of burning flames, Su Fong used the Heaven's secret life shrinking technique to completely conceal his aura. Only then did the firemen stop chasing after him. Su Fong asked Ancestral Gragon, "Old Dragon, what kind of place is this profound casting palace? Even an Emperor Realm Master would be controlled by it after entering?" Ancestral Gragon was also puzzled. "I'm not sure." This ancestor is also not very clear about the situation inside the profound casting palace. However, one thing is certain. The profound casting palace was definitely not like this in the past. Perhaps due to a change in the heavens and earth, or perhaps due to the influence of the high-grade energy from beyond the heavens. The profound casting palace has also undergone a change. Then, Ancestral Gragon warned, "Boy, you have to be careful. This ancestor has a premonition that there is a great danger hidden in this profound casting palace. This ancestor's current state is far from recovering my previous strength. What I can help you with is very limited. I advise you to leave the profound casting palace immediately. Otherwise, the consequences will be unpredictable." "Leave?" Su Fong pondered for a moment. Then, he decisively said, "If I want to obtain treasures, how can I not take risks? The more dangerous it is, the greater the fortune. If I don't get to the bottom of this, and just leave like this, it will damage my Tao heart. You are so young, but your will is so firm. No wonder even this ancestor fell into your hands." Ancestral Gragon praised, "You should be careful. Although this ancestor also hopes that you will die soon, that will only happen after this ancestor has returned your favor. If I, Su Fong, died so easily, I wouldn't have come all the way from small world to where I am today. Old Dragon, you should obediently serve me for 10 million years. Don't have any other fantasies." Su Fong chuckled. Next, Su Fong used the illusory fire cloud cultivation method, turning his body into a burning man. At the same time, he used his pure yang energy to fuse with the surrounding fire aura. QL11 as a result. He looked like a burning man like those flame monsters. Even his aura was similar. Then, Su Fong continued to go deeper into the Dark Caste Palace. Along the way, he was no longer chased by burning men. However, the divine might of the flames that enveloped the space became more and more shocking. There were also bursts of sword chi from time to time. In addition, there were also descending clones and other experts of the Tao Define Alliance that Su Fong had to be careful. About a month later, Su Fong finally arrived at the deepest part of the flame world. Whoosh, a cultivator burning with raging flames, flew towards Su Fong. Behind him, there were hundreds of burning men in hot pursuit. Fondi, who had turned into a burning man, was among them. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The aura of the burning man that was being chased caused the fate Tao runes from the life shrinking technique to flash rapidly in his mind. In the end, they condensed into the phantom of the fire god Zhu clan's elder. That emperor of the Zhu clan is also being controlled. However, he still seems to be conscious. What happened in the Dark Caste Palace? Su Fong was shocked and stunned. He immediately transmitted his nascent spirit to the emperor of the fire god Zhu clan. Su Fong, it's actually you? Leave quickly. That Emperor Tru Yang is crazy. He actually lured us into the Dark Caste Palace and tried to suppress all of us. You, how did you become like this? Are you also being controlled? Emperor Zhu immediately replied. He told Su Fong the truth that surprised and shocked him. Then, he found that Su Fong was also burning with flames. Moreover, his aura was the same as the surrounding flames. His tone was filled with surprise and despair. I'm fine. Come over quickly. I'll put you into the world in my body. Su Fong didn't have time to explain. He hurriedly transmitted his voice to Emperor Zhu. Emperor Zhu was doubtful. However, he still flew towards Su Fong. Su Fong used the divine might of the flames to draw him into his body and then sucked him into the world in his body. Fondi and the other burning men that were chasing after him slowed down when they saw that Su Fong had swallowed Emperor Zhu. The burning men circled Su Fong a few times. Clearly, they were puzzled by Su Fong's aura. In the end, they gradually dispersed. Su Fong heaved a long sigh of relief. It seemed that his disguise had worked. He sent his yang spirit into the world in his body. He saw that Emperor Zhu was still burning. His skin, hair, flesh, and blood were all burning. Even his eyes were burning with raging flames. Fortunately, this person was skilled in the great Tao of fire. Although he was controlled by the flames of the Dark Caste Palace and was burning, he could still maintain some consciousness. It's really Su Fong. When Emperor Zhu saw Su Fong's yang spirit, he smiled helplessly. I didn't expect to see you before I die. If you can escape from the Dark Caste Palace, help me pass a few words to the fire god Zhu clan. Chapter 2552. It's useless. The divine might of the flame in the Dark Casting Palace is extremely strange. It contains a high-level energy that surpasses this world's universe. It can ignore any defense. At this moment, it has already seeped into my divine body, world, and divine aperture. Soon, I will end up like Brahma Monarch. Emperor Zhu shook his head. He didn't have any hope for himself. I didn't expect the great fire god Emperor Zhu to be so pessimistic. Su Fong chuckled and immediately channeled the power of yin and yang into Emperor Zhu's body. It quickly seeped into his divine body, divine aperture, and inner world. Although the strange high-level fire energy was powerful, it was easily assimilated by Su Fong's yin and yang power. Emperor Zhu was shocked and delighted when he sensed that the high-level fire energy that had invaded his body was tamed by Su Fong's power. He quickly cooperated with Su Fong to circulate the energy and dharmic power in his body. After a few circulations, the strange fire energy was forced out of his body with Emperor Zhu's cooperation. Holy Son Su Fong, I can't thank you enough. If you need my help in the future, this emperor and the fire god Zhu clan will do anything for you. Now, that Emperor Zhu was completely out of danger, he was extremely grateful to Su Fong. Su Fong's yang spirit brought him a large number of pills. These were the ancient pills he had obtained from the 2 storage rings in the abandoned herb garden. At the same time, Su Fong didn't hesitate to use his yang power to help Emperor Zhu recover. If it was an ordinary person, regardless of their status, why would Su Fong waste precious yang power and pills to save him? Su Fong saved Emperor Zhu because Emperor Zhu had taken good care of him in the past. especially when he had fallen in the divine prison of law and the 10 serenities. Emperor Zhu didn't hesitate to offend the peerless existence of the imperial people to protect him. What kind of cause was planted back then would naturally have the same effect now. Emperor Zhu didn't expect that he would save his life this time, just because he spoke up for Su Fang. When Emperor Zhu was completely out of danger, Su Fang asked, "Lord Emperor Zhu, what happened between you and Emperor Truyang?" Emperor Zhu spoke slowly with lingering fear in his heart. It turned out that when they followed Emperor Truyang into the dark casting palace, they were quickly affected by the divine might of the flame world. At first, they didn't care. When they reached the depths of the dark casting palace, the other Emperor Master was the first to lose control. Unknowingly, his entire body began to burn, turning him into a flaming man. Only then did Emperor Zhu and Brahma Monarch become alert. However, the two of them were confident in their strength and did not really take it to heart. The Brahma Monarch realm had a powerful creation divine artifact that could resist the corrosion of the divine might of the flames. Emperor Zhu himself was a master of the Grand Tao of Fire, and he was tempted by the treasure, so he ignored the danger and continued to venture deeper into the dark casting palace. When they reached the treasure refining pond, Brahma Monarch could no longer hold on. He was turned into a man of flames, and even his Tao heart collapsed. He lost his Yuan divinity and consciousness. Emperor Zhu was shocked and terrified. He then realized that Emperor Truyang seemed to be in a burning state, but he was actually fine. Only then did he realize that something was wrong and wanted to escape from the dark casting palace. Who knew that Emperor Xinyang would suddenly launch a sneak attack and send out hundreds of fiery men? Emperor Zhu barely managed to keep his Yuan Shun consciousness intact and escape the encirclement. If he had not encountered Su Fang, he would have suffered the same fate as Brahma Monarch. Strange. Since Emperor Zhenyang invited these emperors to search for treasure, he should want to borrow their strength. Why did he attack the other emperors before reaching the treasure refining pond? Could the divine might of the flames in the dark casting palace be controlled by Emperor Zhenyang? Where did he come from? How could he control the dark casting palace? Su Fang was puzzled, and his heart was filled with doubts. His descended clone, the ancestral fiend, and the other emperors of the Tao Defiance Alliance have all entered the dark casting palace and are still missing. They are also here for the prototype of the Xian Bao, so they will definitely fight with Emperor Zhenyang for it. That will be my chance. Su Fang calmly pondered and found an opportunity that was beneficial to him from the unfavorable situation. Next, Su Fang continued to use the illusory fire cloud to disguise himself as a man of flames and flew towards the treasure refining pond. He became more cautious and constantly used the life shrinking technique and the great perfection stage ability to sense his surroundings. Soon, the treasure refining pond appeared in the great perfection stage. In the depths of the burning crimson flames, there was a fire pond that was 1,000 feet in size. Lava boiled in the fire pond, and from time to time, waves of fire would erupt into the sky. It was not real lava, but a viscous state formed by the pure and majestic essence of flames. The divine might of the flames emitted by the fire pond not only contained the pure and majestic essence of fire, but also the aura of the divine sun and the transcendent energy from beyond the heavens. Of course, this was not an ordinary fire pond. It was a treasure refining pond that the heavenly venerate of Genesis had refined from the Tang Valley, where the divine sun had once risen. The array around the fire pond was constantly releasing array power, causing a pillar of fire to rise from the center, forming a huge mushroom-shaped fire cloud that was 100 feet in size. Within the fire cloud was the embryonic form of a flying sword of the Tao Palace of Heaven and Earth. It emitted streaks of golden divine light, exuding a sharp and majestic aura that seemed to be able to tear the universe apart. The embryonic form of this flying sword of the Tao Palace of Heaven and Earth was almost twice as long as an ordinary flying sword. The sword was densely covered with sword seals and streaks of golden patterns, as if it was the divine sun emitting a dazzling divine light. There was a line of tadpole-shaped divine text on the sword hilt. True Yang Evil Vanquisher. It turned out that this flying sword of the Xian Bao was called the True Yang Evil Vanquisher sword. Occasionally, a streak of golden light would glide across the sword, turning into a streak of sword light that flashed out, instantly transforming into a dazzling golden sword chi that was 100 feet in length. The sword chi was vast and sharp, and its power was strong and masculine. It tore through the world of flames around it, and it felt as if heaven and earth were being torn apart. Su Fong could feel the terrifying divine might contained in the sword chi from afar, and his heart skipped a beat. Although the sword chi was still very far away from him, it made him feel as if he was being torn apart and incinerated into ashes. The power contained in this flying sword, just the sword chi that was automatically released, was already so terrifying. Once it was activated, Su Fong reckoned that it would be as easy as killing a chicken for him to kill the unparalleled existence of the imperial people. Even a transcendent expert, like the Patriarch of Luo, would have to flee in the face of this sword sharpness. Although Su Fong wasn't sure what quality the Xian Bao was, he could tell that the True Yang Evil Vanquisher sword was definitely not inferior to Dong Xianzhang's Clear Sea Mystic Bowl. The ancestral Gragon exclaimed from Su Fong's body, "What a treasure! This Xian Bao is definitely a great treasure. When I traveled with the Celestial Venerable, I've seen many Xian Bao, but none of them can compare to this True Yang Evil Vanquisher sword." Su Fong was also extremely shocked. True Yang Evil Vanquisher sword? Since it's called Vanquisher sword, the Celestial Venerable must have refined this sword to deal with the evil god's descent. I don't know why, but before the True Yang Evil Vanquisher sword was completed, the evil god's descent was about to occupy this part of the universe. The ancestral Gragon continued, "That True Yang Evil Vanquisher sword isn't the prototype of the Xian Bao that the Emperor True Yang mentioned. It has already been refined, and it only lacks the final step of being cleansed with spiritual water." Su Fong said, "That's right, but this sword releases such a shocking sword chi. Other than the Celestial Venerable, who else can control it?" The ancestral Gragon also said, "It can't be subdued. No one can subdue this True Yang Evil Vanquisher sword. Look at the sword chi that it releases automatically. Even if I go near it, I will be injured by the sword's radiance. It can't be subdued unless the Celestial Venerable personally takes action." Su Fong said, "That True Yang lured those venerable emperors into the dark casting palace. It's definitely not as simple as turning them into puppets. He must have other plans. Maybe he has a way to subdue the True Yang Evil Vanquisher sword. I just need to wait and see. When he subdues the Xian Bao, then suppress it." Su Fong displayed the power of the Great Perfection stage. At the same time, he also used the Heavenly Secret Life shrinking technique to project the power of the Great Perfection stage. Buzz, buzz. Soon, Su Fong found the figure of the Emperor True Yang outside the array of the treasure refining pool. QL11 at this time, his whole body was emitting a shocking flame, releasing a dazzling firelight. He looked like a divine sun, which was very shocking. His aura seemed to have merged with the dark casting palace and became more ethereal. In a short time, his strength actually reached the peak of the venerable emperors. Su Fong sensed that the vitality of the Emperor True Yang was almost non-existent. It was as if he was not a living body, but a flame incarnation. Su Fong thought to himself, "It is said that the Emperor True Yang is a secluded rogue cultivator with a mysterious origin. His name is True Yang, and the True Yang Evil Vanquisher sword also has the word True Yang in its name. Obviously, it has a great connection with the Dark Casting Palace." Not only the Emperor True Yang, but Su Fong also sensed the aura of destiny of the clone. 3,000 meters away from the treasure refining pool, there was a blood-red flame in the middle of a burning sea of fire. It gave off an evil aura of destiny. It came from the clone that had descended. The clone had actually transformed into a ball of blood-red flames. If Su Fong had not grasped the supreme ability to sense the aura of destiny, it would have been very difficult to discover its existence. Even the Emperor True Yang had not discovered it. The clone was condensed from the projection of the blood sun, so it was not strange for it to be able to transform into a flame state. However, the ancestral fiend and the other 3 venerable emperors of the Tao Defiance Alliance were nowhere to be seen. The divine sun aura within the dark casting palace was a lethal counter to all evil existences. The ancestral fiend and the other venerable emperors of the Tao Defiance Alliance were no exception. Clearly, the clone had taken them into the world of the artifact. The clone is watching covetously from the side, try to be the oriole behind the mantis stalking the cicada, while I am a hunter. It won't be too late to take action after they fight to the death. Su Fong calculated in his heart, then transmitted his thoughts to the ancestral fiend and told him his thoughts. The ancestral fiend replied, "The True Yang Evil Vanquisher Sword is so powerful, so this ancestor is going all out and will help you at the crucial moment. However, this ancestor has yet to recover from his injuries, and his strength is still far from my peak state. Otherwise, I wouldn't have to go through so much trouble and directly kill the evil god's clone and a puny venerable emperor." As expected of the ancestral fiend, he treated venerable emperors like chickens. He did not even take the clone that was a supreme expert comparable to a transcendent being seriously. Su Fong asked curiously, "Old dragon, you should know something about the evil god's descent. Why don't you tell me everything?" The evil god's descent is related to the heavenly venerate, so this ancestor is unable to speak of it. Otherwise, it will bring about misfortune. Moreover, this ancestor does not know much about the evil god's descent. This ancestor was only the heavenly venerate's mount back then, so it is difficult for me to know anything that is too confidential. The ancestral fiends replied disappointed Su Fongda. At this moment, Emperor True Yang suddenly pulled out a figure from his palm, causing Su Fong to be shocked and stunned. Chapter 2553. Heavenly Bao came from a macro world and was originally a human-shaped divine weapon refined by the Heavenly Bao Emperor. After arriving in the myriad worlds, Heavenly Bao was controlled by the Heavenly Fire Divine Lord. Later, Heavenly Bao was taken in by the only Tao Emperor. Su Fong originally wanted to take Heavenly Bao as his subordinate, but Heavenly Bao wanted to become an expert and even wanted to surpass Su Fong, so he was unwilling to submit. Later, Su Fong did not lack experts under his command, so he did not pay attention to Heavenly Bao. Outside the Advent Palace, Su Fong saw Heavenly Bao with Emperor True Yang. He thought that Heavenly Bao was also preparing to enter the Advent Palace to search for treasures, so he did not pay much attention. He did not expect Heavenly Bao to be released by Emperor True Yang at this time. Heavenly Bao's strength was only at the advanced stage of the Tao integration realm. For an expert like Emperor True Yang, he was not even comparable to an ant. However, Emperor True Yang had released him in such a serious manner. Obviously, there was a great use for him, which puzzled Su Fongda. Great Perfection Stage's extraordinary vision penetrated the layers of flames and landed on Heavenly Bao and Emperor True Yang. He had to figure out Emperor True Yang's intention. Heavenly Bao was shocked to see Emperor True Yang's current appearance. "Lord True Yang, how did you become like this? Where is Lord Fondi and the others?" Emperor True Yang said majestically, "Lord Fondi and the others are searching for treasures elsewhere in the dark casting palace. Don't worry about them." Heavenly Bao realized that he was in a shocking world of flames. If not for Emperor True Yang's divine power protecting him, he would not be able to last long in the dark casting palace and would soon be melted. Emperor True Yang said, "Heavenly Bao, I ask you, there is a great opportunity waiting for you. Do you dare take it?" Heavenly Bao's eyes shone brightly. "Please tell me, Lord True Yang." Emperor True Yang pointed at the True Yang evil slaying sword. "Help me obtain that supreme magic treasure, and I will give you the opportunity to become a supreme emperor." Hearing Emperor True Yang's words, Su Fong was surprised. Emperor True Yang wants heavenly treasure to take the True Yang evil punishing sword? Why? Does he think heavenly treasure can subdue the True Yang evil punishing sword? Celestial treasure sensed the terrifying aura of the true yang, evil slaying sword, and saw the shocking flames in the treasure refining pool. If he was careless, he would be touched by the flames. With his strength, he would instantly turn into ashes. Celestial Bao's face turned pale with fright as he stammered, "Lord Jinyang, that flying sword is so frightening. It should be a peerless treasure on par with a creation divine artifact. Furthermore, the pool of fire is so terrifying. How could I possibly obtain it?" Heavenly Treasure had actually treated the true Yang evil-slaying sword as a destinable artifact. Emperor True Yang's amiable voice came out from the flames. "Heavenly Treasure, even I can't get my hands on that treasure. Once I get close, the flying sword will burst out with sword light, and even I may die from it. However, you're different. In the entire universe, only you can obtain it." Tianbao was confused. Why? Not only Tianbao, but even Su Fong was confused. Emperor True Yang explained slowly. "That's because the flying sword is extremely domineering. Although it doesn't have a sword spirit, it will automatically attack any life form that gets close to it. However, you are different. You're a treasure. If you get close to the flying sword, not only will it not attack you, but it will also get close to you." It seemed to make sense. However, Tianbao was still hesitant. Huel 11, this was a powerful treasure that could even kill a venerable emperor. He, a mere Dao integration stage cultivator, would be reduced to ashes by the sword chi. Although he was a human-shaped divine artifact, he had his own consciousness. Why would he voluntarily go to his death? Emperor True Yang continued to persuade. "I'm not asking you to go to it to subdue it, but to cleanse its spirit. As long as you cleanse the flying sword spirit, I can easily subdue it." Cleanse its spirit? That's right. Emperor True Yang shot out a rune from the flames. It was a rune that looked like it was condensed from blood. It was as red as blood, and at the same time, it contained amazing, pure Yang divine power. It was unknown whose blood it was condensed from. Emperor True Yang explained, "This treasure is not ordinary. It needs to be cleansed with blood, and this rune is a special blood that I collected. When the time comes, you only need to crush it to cleanse the treasure spirit." Su Fong asked Ancestral Gragon in surprise, "Old Dragon, does Xian Bao really need to use blood to cleanse its spirit?" Although I'm not an expert in refining treasures, I know a little about it. There's a Xian Bao that uses blood to cleanse its spirit, but this method is not common. Usually, it is used to cleanse the spirit of some domineering Xian Bao that is difficult to fuse. Is Emperor True Yang planning to use his own blood to forcibly fuse with the True Yang evil-slaying sword? Not understanding Emperor True Yang's intention, Su Fong could only wait patiently to see what he was up to. This, Emperor True Yang's words, made Celestial Bao hesitate again. There's a saying in the mortal world, wealth comes from danger. If you don't take great risks, how can you obtain great fortune? Emperor True Yang chuckled, trying to tempt Celestial Bao. "I promise that as long as you help me obtain that treasure, I will use the divine sun energy in the treasure refining pool to cleanse your marrow and refine your divine body." Celestial Bao's eyes burned with passion. "Use the divine sun energy to cleanse my marrow and refine my divine body. You are a disciple of the One Dao sect. How much fortune can he give you? Piercing through the sky, you can only reach the height of an overgod. That is your limit." This treasure refining pool was refined in the Tang Valley in the land of sunrise. It can refine supreme treasures that surpass divine weapons of creation. If I refine you with the help of the treasure refining pool, you will also have the possibility to surpass the overgod level and become an overgod. You won't give up such an opportunity, right? You are the one and only human-shaped magic treasure in the world. With my help, not only will you become an overgod, but you will also have a great chance to become an overgod. When I obtain that supreme treasure, my strength will not be weaker than the supreme beings of the imperial people. At that time, I will cultivate you with all my strength, and your chances of becoming an overgod will greatly increase. Emperor Tru Yang's voice seemed to contain a kind of magic that dispelled Celestial Bao's doubts and fears. Finally, he said decisively, "Since Lord Tru Yang has said so, I will take this risk for you." Celestial Bao grabbed the blood-red rune and stared at the Tru Yang evil slaying sword. His eyes flashed with determination. Since the day he was born, Celestial Bao swore to become stronger and stronger. He did not want to be a magic treasure controlled by humans, but a master who could control his own destiny. Now that the opportunity was right in front of him, he was ready to risk everything. Emperor Tru Yang nodded and said, "Not only are you taking this risk for me, but also for your own future. Let's begin. I will help you get close to that magic treasure." Emperor Tru Yang suddenly formed a hand seal. The surging flames above the treasure refining pool suddenly froze, and a shocking temperature that was enough to melt a royal grade divine artifact was no longer as shocking as before. Then, clusters of flames rolled and quickly condensed into fiery red lotuses that extended to the Tru Yang evil slaying sword. It was a dazzling sight. Celestial Bao stepped on the fiery red lotuses without hesitation and quickly walked toward the Tru Yang evil slaying sword. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The Tru Yang evil slaying sword seemed to have sensed Celestial Bao's arrival and stopped releasing sword chi. Celestial Bao was overjoyed and sped up toward the Tru Yang evil slaying sword. After a dozen breaths, Celestial Bao was less than 10 feet away from the Tru Yang evil slaying sword. Just as he was about to crush the blood-red rune in his hand to cleanse the Tru Yang evil slaying sword, the golden runes on the sword suddenly shot out thousands of rays of golden light and enveloped Celestial Bao. Chi, chi. Celestial Bao's divine body began to collapse in the golden light. Celestial Bao was shocked and shouted, "Lord Tru Yang, why are you doing this?" Lord Tru Yang's cold and indifferent voice sounded, "Don't you understand now? I'll let you get close to the Tru Yang evil slaying sword, so that the sword could devour you and make you its artifact spirit." Celestial Bao roared, "Lord Tru Yang, how can you do this? No one can control the Tru Yang evil slaying sword without an artifact spirit. However, it is difficult to give birth to an artifact spirit without the passage of time. I had no choice but to find an artifact spirit for this sword. I searched through thousands of worlds and found that only a human-shaped artifact like you was the most suitable one. That was why I tried to bring you to the Dark Casting Palace. Otherwise, you're just a Dao integration cultivator. What makes you worthy of my attention?" Celestial Bao's divine body continued to shatter and turn into nothingness. He fell into despair and shouted in horror, "Lord Tru Yang, I am just a Dao integration cultivator. How can I become the artifact spirit of such a supreme artifact spirit? You must be mistaken." "I can't be mistaken. I have tried countless times and found out that the Tru Yang evil slaying sword is extremely domineering. It has the ability to devour artifact spirits and condense them into a sword spirit. You're no different from a human. Your primordial spirit is also a primordial spirit. It is completely possible for you to merge with the Tru Yang evil slaying sword and become its primordial spirit." Celestial Bao gave up completely and roared angrily, "Lord Tru Yang, how can you be so despicable?" "Despicable? You're an artifact spirit. You were born to be controlled by cultivators. How dare you dream of becoming a powerhouse? Now you have the chance to become the artifact spirit of a supreme Xian Bao. It is also your supreme fortune. When you become the artifact spirit of the Tru Yang evil slaying sword, killing a primordial spirit will be as easy as killing a chicken. What is a mere primordial spirit to you? This can be considered as me fulfilling my promise to you." Lord Tru Yang snorted. Celestial Bao's divine body had completely turned into nothingness. Only his primordial spirit was left. He was an artifact spirit. His primordial spirit was the artifact spirit of the artifact. The golden light wrapped around the primordial spirit and was about to suck it into the sword. Celestial Bao screamed in despair, "Lord Tru Yang, even if I become the primordial spirit, I will never let you control me. You don't have to worry about that. When I merge with the true yang, evil-slaying sword with the essence blood of the descendants of the solar divine clan, I will have a way to become the master of the true yang, evil-slaying sword, and make you obedient. Lord True Yang laughed loudly. Just as Celestial Bao's primordial spirit was about to be swallowed by the sword, he suddenly formed a seal. The blood-red rune he had given Celestial Bao shattered instantly and turned into a cloud of blood mist. It was sucked into the sword along with Celestial Bao's primordial spirit. In the blink of an eye, the true yang evil-slaying sword sucked Celestial Bao's primordial spirit and blood chi clean. Su Fong was dumbfounded from afar. There was no time for him to save Celestial Bao. Not to mention that Lord True Yang was mysterious and unpredictable. Coupled with the fact that his incarnation was watching from the side, he was powerless to save Celestial Bao. Celestial Bao's fate made Su Fong realize once again the dangers and cruelty of the path of cultivation. Celestial Bao was a supreme artifact refined by Celestial Bao, the great emperor of the great world. It was also a unique human-shaped artifact in the world. It possessed supreme luck that surpassed that of a cultivator. Chapter 2554. Celestial treasures are too weak. They can't control their own fate. Although I gave them freedom, they still can't escape the fate of being controlled by others, Su Fong sighed in his heart. At the same time, he was even more determined to become stronger. Qi, from the true yang evil-slaying sword. A purple qi shot into the sky and entered the world of the dark casting palace. Following that, a burst of blood-red white smoke and a mysterious multicolored light flew out. The white smoke dissipated. A golden flying sword floated above the treasure refining pool, exuding a supreme divine power that surpassed that of a divine weapon of creation. It also exuded the power of pure yang that could kill all evil. The true yang evil-slaying sword has been successfully refined. Su Fong shifted his attention to the true yang evil-slaying sword. Strange, why does the true yang evil-slaying sword need the blood essence of a descendant of the solar god race to fuse with it? Ancestral Gragon spoke in his internal world. What's so strange about that? The Supreme Heavenly Venerate refined the true yang evil-slaying sword precisely to deal with the evil god. It contains supreme divine power of pure yang, other than the blood essence of a descendant of the solar god race. Who else can fuse with it? Su Fong was even more confused. Since the solar god race has the ability to restrain the evil god, why did the Supreme Heavenly Venerate watch the solar god race be destroyed back then? Ancestral Gragon said faintly. Can't you see? He shot down the 9 suns and destroyed the solar god race. It seems like he colluded with the demon race, but in reality, the Supreme Heavenly Venerate is preparing for the current calamity, including this true yang evil-slaying sword. Although the ancestral Gragon's words were a little vague, it set off waves of shock in Su Fong's heart. In an instant, he understood many things. From the true yang evil-slaying sword, Su Fong thought of the origin sacred mirror. The heavenly Tao was the Supreme Heavenly Venerate himself. Losing the 9 suns and 9 underworlds was equivalent to losing the Supreme Heavenly Venerate's own strength. Why did he use the 9 suns and 9 underworlds' essence to refine the origin sacred mirror? QL11, all of this couldn't be more obvious. The Supreme Heavenly Venerate had already deduced that there would be such a change in the world. As early as the primordial times, or even before the primordial times, he had already started making arrangements to deal with the evil god race, including this true yang evil-slaying sword. It was also a supreme Xian Bao that the Empyrean had meticulously refined in order to deal with the descent. At the same time, Su Fong also understood why the blood essence of the sun god race's descendants could fuse with the true yang evil-slaying sword. It wasn't because of the blood essence, but because the true yang evil-slaying sword was originally reserved for cultivators with pure yang energy. Su Fong speculated that the true purpose of the true, yang, evil, slaying sword created by the Supreme Empyrean was not for the descendants of the sun god race, but for the cultivators who cultivated the 9 suns, 9 transformations. He was the true master of the true, yang, evil, exterminating sword. After understanding all this, Su Fong didn't feel any excitement or joy. Instead, he felt a chill run down his spine. He felt as if he had fallen into a huge conspiracy. Somehow, there was a huge hand controlling everything. Shroud, who was shackled in the prison's suppressing codex, was a chess piece that the Empyrean had placed there in advance. It was even possible that the ancestral dragon and Su Fong himself were all chess pieces. Ever since he had severed the karma of fate with this world, Su Fong had always thought that he could control his own fate. However, from the looks of it, there was still an invisible thread of fate controlling his fate. Old Dragon. Su Fong hoped to get some information from the ancestral dragon. Little did he know that the ancestral dragon would reply flatly, "Don't ask me. What I know is limited. Even if I know, I won't say it. I won't even think about it. Maybe all of this is just my guess. I'm just being paranoid." Su Fong waved away the doubts in his heart. However, a seed was planted in the depths of his heart. Just as his thoughts were running wild, the purple chi dharma spirit in his body suddenly erupted with a huge commotion. After trembling uncontrollably, it released an ethereal and illusory devouring power. Bang! A mysterious purple light escaped from the void and entered the depths of Su Fong's body, which had transformed into a fiery state and was devoured by the purple chi dharma spirit. It turned out that the primordial purple chi produced by the birth of the true yang evil vanquishing sword had caused the purple chi dharma spirit to erupt uncontrollably and absorb the primordial purple chi. Thankfully, Emperor True Yang and his avatar didn't notice it. At that moment, Emperor True Yang and his avatar's attention was focused on the newly refined True Yang evil vanquishing sword. The primordial purple chi was also ethereal and illusory, so they did not notice the commotion. This allowed Su Fong to heave a sigh of relief. After the purple chi dharma spirit absorbed the primordial purple chi, it was as though it had devoured a great tonic. It constantly trembled in Su Fong's body as though it was boiling. Every magic treasure's birth would produce primordial purple chi. However, the quality of the magic treasure was different, so the strength of the primordial purple chi produced was different. Ever since the purple chi dharma spirit devoured heavenly fire divine, Lord's purple chi dharma spirit, it underwent another transformation. It played an irreplaceable role in Su Fong's transcendence and resurrection. As the purple chi dharma spirit underwent another transformation, no matter how much primordial purple chi it devoured, it was unable to change the purple chi dharma spirit too much. And the primordial purple chi that the purple chi dharma spirit devoured was produced by a supreme Xian Bao. The primordial purple chi that was produced by any magic treasure in this world caused the purple chi dharma spirit to boil crazily. It became deeper and more vast. It filled Su Fong's body and even the universe in his body with a mysterious purple chi. The primordial purple chi was a part of the purple chi. The purple chi represented luck, heavenly luck, and the luck of the great Tao. Su Fong's mastery of the primordial purple chi meant that he had invincible luck. At the same time, it gave him invincible luck in his world and universe. Suddenly, Wong, an incomparable feeling swept past Su Fong's body. It caused the Tao runes of fate from the life shrinking technique to flash rapidly in the depths of Su Fong's divine aperture. There's actually a peerless expert hidden in the dark casting palace. His aura is also so insubstantial. It's definitely not Emperor True Yang or his avatar. It's someone else. His cultivation is probably even stronger than the supreme existence of the imperial people. It's comparable to the transcendence realm. Who is this person? Su Fong was shocked and immediately became alert. He didn't expect that there was such an expert hidden in the dark casting palace. It seemed that the dangers of the dark casting palace far exceeded his expectations. Su Fong used his great perfection ability and also activated the life shrinking technique at the same time. He could only vaguely sense that the feeling came from the treasure refining pool. There was actually an incomparably powerful existence hidden in the treasure refining pool of the dark casting palace. Ancestral Gragon also sensed it and said in surprise, "It's that feathered beast? It's actually still alive?" Su Fong was shocked and asked, "Old dragon, who is the feathered beast you mentioned? Could it be a winged big goblin?" Ancestral Gragon snorted and said, "More or less. It's a monster from the same era as this ancestor. I originally thought that it had perished long ago. I didn't expect it to still be alive. Now I understand. It's just pretending to be mysterious." "No wonder," Su Fong said. "Who is that big goblin? You'll know in a while. Since it's that feathered beast, this ancestor advises you to leave the dark casting palace as soon as possible. Could it be that the winged big goblin is even stronger than you? If this ancestor recovers my strength, I can easily pluck all its feathers and devour all its blood essence. Then, who in this universe can surpass this ancestor? Let's wait and see. Right now, there's still my clone in the dark casting palace. He also has the ancestral fiend and the 3 emperors of the Tao Defiance Alliance beside him. No matter how powerful that winged big goblin is, can it kill all of them? The true young evil vanquishing sword is destined to belong to me, Su Fong. When both sides are injured, I might have a chance to obtain the supreme Xian Bao. You're quite bold. I hope you'll have good luck this time." Luck? My Su Fong has never lacked this. Just as Su Fong and Ancestral Gragon were conversing, Emperor Tru Yang pounced towards the True Yang evil vanquishing sword. This emperor has the True Yang vanquishing evil sword. When the time comes, I'll have the supreme strength to slay the evil god. Not only the evil god, but the Empyrean is nowhere to be found. No one knows whether he's dead or alive. This emperor will become the supreme ruler of this universe. Emperor Tru Yang was very proud when he saw that the True Yang evil vanquishing sword was in his hands. He laughed wantonly. Before his laughter died down, "How dare a mere venerable sovereign try to kill me? You're daydreaming." The cold voice of the descendant sounded, causing the scorching hot interior of the dark casting palace to become colder in an instant. An evil aura instantly shrouded the entire space. The divine light of a bloody sun appeared beside the True Yang evil vanquishing sword and condensed into a figure. This person was handsome and extraordinary. His aura was ethereal and transcendent. It was the descendant doppelganger. "Descendant, you've also come to the dark casting palace." Emperor Tru Yang's divine light changed instantly. He didn't even care about the True Yang evil vanquishing sword. His figure flashed, and he was about to escape. "Wouldn't it be a joke if I let you escape from this emperor?" The doppelganger revealed an evil smile, and a bloody light shot out from his eyes. In an instant, a bloody light turned into a bloody world and enveloped Emperor Tru Yang. 4 bloody suns appeared in the bloody world and suddenly burst out with bloody light, wrapping around Emperor Tru Yang. Chi, chi, chi. Although Emperor Tru Yang was in a fiery state, his life, primordial spirit, and energy were instantly devoured by the powerful divine power displayed by the descendant doppelganger. In less than 10 breaths, he turned into a pile of ashes. Su Fong didn't expect that Emperor Tru Yang would be killed so easily by the descendant doppelganger. True Yang evil vanquishing sword? The descendant doppelganger stared at the True Yang evil vanquishing sword. His eyes flashed with fear and disdain. "It's also an extraordinary Xian Bao. If you personally activate it, it may really be a threat to this emperor. However, in the myriad of worlds in the universe now, can anyone utilize such an extraordinary dark treasure? Celestial Venerable, you spent countless efforts to obtain the prototype of the Xian Bao and refined it into the True Yang evil vanquishing sword. In the end, it still benefited this emperor. Not only your Xian Bao, but your universe and everything will belong to this emperor." The descendant doppelganger laughed happily. A bloody light rolled out from his palm and enveloped the True Yang evil vanquishing sword. He was about to put away the supreme Xian Bao. Chi. Chapter 2555. If it is activated by someone else, this clone of mine will have no choice but to flee. However, there is no one controlling you now. How can the sword chi released by itself do anything to me? When I taint you, you'll be my treasure. At that time, you will still have to listen to me obediently. The clone sneered disdainfully. However, from the seriousness in his eyes, it could be seen that he was actually very wary of the true yang, evil, slaying, sword chi. The clone reached out and grabbed the true yang, evil slaying sword. Bloody light shot out and transformed into the image of a bloody sun. It seemed to be a casual grab, but it released a bloody sun world that enveloped the true yang, evil slaying sword. QL 11 Chi. The sword chi released by the true yang, evil slaying sword tore apart the world of the incarnation. Wherever the scorching flame and pure yang power reached, the world of the incarnation's bloody sun melted and tore apart like snow meeting the scorching sun. The clone did not expect the true yang, evil slaying sword to be so powerful. It also contained a powerful power that could restrain him. Just a sword chi released by itself was so terrifying. Shocked, the clone flashed and tried to avoid the fierce attack. However, at this moment, a flame rose from the treasure refining pool below. The flame quickly transformed into a strange bird that was hundreds of feet tall. It looked like a crow, but it had 3 legs and was burning with shocking flames. Its wings flapped with golden light. The power of the sun erupted from the treasure refining pool with the appearance of the strange bird. As soon as the strange bird appeared, it immediately opened its mouth and spat out a flame that attacked the clone. The incarnation was caught off guard and was pincered by the sword chi and the strange bird's attack. The sword chi tore his body apart, and the flames hit his body. In an instant, it turned into a monstrous fire that burned madly. Boom! 4 blood-red suns appeared from the interior of the fiery flames, erupting with an evil and terrifying divine might. The fiery flames surged in all directions like waves in the ocean. The clone's figure reappeared, surrounded by 4 bloody suns. His black hair danced wildly, and an evil and domineering aura of a supreme ruler appeared spontaneously. However, the clone had been attacked by the strange bird and the sword chi, so he was seriously injured. There was a scar on his body that stretched from his right shoulder all the way to his abdomen. His internal organs were clearly visible. The pure yang godly power contained in the sword chi, as well as the flame of the strange bird and the godly power of the sun, spread through his wounds and other parts of his body, madly corroding his body. Chi! A layer of crimson light surged out of the clone's body, and its wounds quickly healed. The power that was corroding its body was also dispelled by the crimson light. The incarnation stared at the huge, strange bird. Golden Crow, you are the totem divine bird of the sun god race, the golden crow that once occupied the divine sun. Ancestral Gragon spoke from Su Fong's inner world. It really is that feathered beast. I didn't expect it to still be alive, and it looks much stronger than before. Su Fong was shocked. The golden crow? Is that the legendary ancient divine bird, the golden crow? Ancestral Gragon snorted. Who else could it be other than that feathered beast? Phew, the strange bird's body quickly shrank and transformed into a human form. This person was wearing a red robe, and from his appearance, he looked like Emperor True Yang. However, he was more arrogant and domineering than Emperor True Yang. I have been silent for countless years. I didn't expect to be recognized by the evil god. I feel extremely honored. Emperor True Yang, who was transformed from the golden crow, smiled proudly. There was a domineering and arrogant tone in his voice that looked down on everything. The incarnation said coldly, "The sun god race has already disappeared in the long river of history. You, the golden crow, have been struggling at death's door until now. How big a wave can you cause by jumping out now?" I was suppressed in this treasure-refining pool by the heavenly venerable for countless years. I was forced to use the Tang Valley flame to refine the Xian Bao for him. After countless years, not only did I escape, but I also have supreme strength that transcends this world. With the true Yang evil slaying sword, who in this world can compete with me? including you, the evil god. If you dare to stop me, you will also become a ghost under my sword. Just you. The incarnation snorted disdainfully at the golden crow. Even the celestial master is going to fall, and this world will become my territory. You're just a winged great demon after all. How dare you be so arrogant? There is no need for me to do anything. This incarnation of mine can suppress you. Is that so? Then I will show you my strength. The golden crow suddenly let out a sharp cry, and its divine might instantly controlled the entire space inside the dark casting palace. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Numerous flaming figures flew over from all directions. There were more than 1,000 of them, and the weakest of them was at the Tao integration stage. There were also many Lord-level cultivators. Brahma the Arch, who had entered the dark casting palace with Emperor Tru Yang, and another Emperor powerhouse were among them. These flaming figures were like moths to a flame. They pounced on the golden crow and turned into streaks of fire. They burrowed into the golden crow's body and were swallowed by it. The flames in the treasure refining pool below and the fiery aura in the dark casting palace also burrowed into the golden crow's body. In this short period of time, the temperature of the flames in the treasure refining pool dropped by several times. The golden crow's aura rose steadily and became extremely majestic. It felt as if it was the incarnation of a true divine Sunday. At this moment, the golden crow had surpassed the peak of the emperor realm and reached the astonishing height of a transcendent being. Su Fong finally understood. I see. Emperor Tru Yang lured Brahma the Arch and the other emperor realm powerhouses into the dark casting palace. His purpose was not to help him obtain the Tru Yang evil vanquishing sword, but to let the golden crow devour them and help it increase its strength. Fortunately, I saved Emperor Zhu. Otherwise, the golden crow's strength would be even stronger. The incarnation's divine light flickered, and it sneered disdainfully. Is that all you have? You don't even have the qualifications to fight with me. What do you have to compete with my true body? The golden crow's voice was filled with murderous intent. After I kill you and those Emperor Realm powerhouses in your inner space, I'll kill that heavenly venerable successor who thinks he's hidden well, and the ancestral dragon in his inner world. I'll devour your lives and strength. Coupled with the Tru Yang evil vanquishing sword, it'll be enough to kill your true body. Su Fangdao was shocked. As expected, the golden crow has discovered me. Even the ancestral dragon in my inner world can't escape its senses. The ancestral dragon in his inner world snorted coldly. This feathered beast is still as arrogant as before. It even wants to kill me? If I recover to my peak state, I'll crush it with one claw. The incarnation was also surprised and shocked. Su Fong and the ancestral dragon have also entered the dark casting palace. Why is the ancestral dragon with him? A blood-red light flashed in his eyes and swept in all directions. He immediately discovered the existence of Su Fong. The golden crow continued. Originally, I wanted you to kill the sun god race puppet that I controlled so that you and the heavenly venerable successor could fight to the death. This way, I could save some energy. Who knew that the heavenly venerable successor was also extraordinary? Seeing that the Tru Yang evil vanquishing sword was about to fall into your hands, he didn't make a move, so I had to take action personally. But it's nothing, just a little troublesome. Su Fong felt a chill run down his spine. He didn't expect the golden crow to be so cunning. Su Fong originally planned to let his incarnation fight to the death with the heavenly venerable Tru Yang so that he could reap the benefits. Fortunately, he was reminded by the ancestral dragon. Otherwise, the one who would reap the benefits would not be him, but the golden crow. I miscalculated. I didn't expect, since you've entered the dark casting palace, all of you can die. The golden crow shouted domineeringly. The treasure refining pool suddenly erupted with the power of flames. In an instant, it merged with the entire space inside the dark casting palace, turning into an independent space that transcended heaven and earth. It was completely a world of flames. In the world, raging flames rose, and the phantoms of 10 divine suns rose into the sky one after another, creating illusions of the divine suns rising into the sky from the rushing current valley. Su Fong was shocked to find that the surrounding space was isolated from heaven and earth. It was no longer as easy as before to transcend this space. He had to tear apart the surrounding shackles. The golden crow pointed at the true young, evil, vanquishing sword from afar. Buzz! Mysterious golden patterns appeared on the true young, evil, vanquishing sword, and it spewed out a shocking golden light. It was as if the divine sun was releasing its strongest power, emitting a vast aura. Impossible! How can you activate the true young, evil, vanquishing sword? The incarnation sensed that the true young, evil, vanquishing sword's aura was 100 times stronger than before. Once its power erupted, it would be enough to kill him. All these years, I've sent out the true young sovereign puppet to search for the sword spirit and the descendants of the solar god race in the myriad of worlds. At this moment, the true young, evil, vanquishing sword already has a sword spirit, and I've used the blood essence of the descendants of the solar god race to temporarily control the true young, evil, vanquishing sword. Although I can only activate 30% of its power now, it's enough to kill a mere incarnation of the evil god like you. As soon as the golden crow finished speaking, the true young, evil, vanquishing sword shone with golden light, and it transformed into an enormous sword chi that flashed out. Block the sword chi for me. The incarnation was shocked, and he waved his hand to summon numerous figures to block the sword chi. They were the 3 Tao Defiants from the Tao Defiance Alliance. At this critical moment, the incarnation had used them as shields. He didn't summon the ancestral fiend to block the sword chi because he considered that once the ancestral fiend died, the devil race in the myriad of worlds would lose control and the consequences would be severe. Chi. The 3 Tao Defiants were only able to utilize the defenses of their worlds or had just activated their death artifacts before their worlds and treasures were slashed apart by the sword chi that flashed past them. Moreover, they were transformed into ash by the peerlessly sharp sword chi that contained the divine might of Yang. The 3 supreme sovereigns were actually unable to block the might of the true Yang evil vanquishing sword, and they had only expended some of the sword chi's power. The incarnation's eyes flashed with decisiveness and decisiveness. Before the sword chi slashed over, he activated a blood sun in the surroundings and caused it to explode with a loud bang. Borrowing the might of the explosion, the incarnation shattered the shackles of the surrounding world, jumped out of the world, and fled without a trace. Although he was lucky enough to escape from the Dark Caste Palace, the incarnation had suffered heavy losses. Losing the 3 sovereigns wasn't a big deal. He was an incarnation condensed from the Blood Sun projection. Now that he had exploded a Blood Sun, it meant that his strength had dropped greatly once again. He had almost fallen below the level of a transcendent to the level of a sovereign. The remaining might of the true, Yang, evil, vanquishing sword still hadn't dissipated. It tore apart the space inside the Dark Caste Palace and tore a huge crack in the world that the Golden Crow had created with the power of the treasure refining pool. The sword chi penetrated the huge mountain outside the Dark Caste Palace and slashed a huge crack in it. The might of the true, Yang, evil, vanquishing sword was actually so domineering. Although the Golden Crow had only activated 30% of its might, it was still comparable to the might of the origin sacred mirror unleashed by Su Fong and Shu Wanjin using the yin-yang transformation. How terrifying would it be if the sword was completely merged? Just as the Golden Crow was activating the true Yang evil vanquishing sword to attack the incarnation, Su Fong witnessed the terrifying might of the supreme Xian Bao and immediately decided to flee the Dark Caste Palace. Chapter 2556. The Golden Crow flapped its wings and appeared above Su Fong's head in an instant. It looked down on Su Fong as if a supreme ruler had descended. It was ferocious and looked down on everything in the world. The Golden Crow said majestically, "You have the aura of the origin sacred mirror on you. You must be the heavenly venerate's descendant that my puppet mentioned, Su Fong. You're just a middle-level lord, but you have the ability to kill a sovereign. You're worthy of being the Heavenly Venerate's descendant. The puppet you mentioned is the Heavenly Venerate True Yang? That's right. He's a descendant of the Sun God clan and is quite extraordinary. He was just a Lord God who accidentally entered the Dark Casting Palace and tried to steal the True Yang evil vanquishing sword. He was suppressed by me and became my slave. Then, with my help, he became a sovereign. Su Fong then asked, "Are you really the legendary Golden Crow? I heard that there are 10 divine sons, and each one has a golden crow residing in it. Which divine son do you belong to?" Su Fong seemed unhurried, but he was actually secretly communicating with the ancestral Gragon. Now that he was being watched by the Golden Crow, it was obviously impossible for him to escape easily. He could only fight it. With the ancestral Gragon and the Origin Sacred Mirror, he might be able to fight the Golden Crow. It was even possible for him to obtain the True Yang evil vanquishing sword. Old Dragon, if I join forces with you and fight the Golden Crow, what are our chances of winning? I'm afraid I'll have to disappoint you. The chances of us escaping this time are at most 50%, let alone defeating this feathered beast. You old loach, aren't you an expert from the same era as the Golden Crow? Moreover, you traveled the world with the Heavenly Venerate. You were bragging about how powerful you were before. Why are you scared now? The ancestral Gragon flew into a rage out of humiliation. I've been sealed for so many years, and my primordial spirit was injured by you. How can I recover my primordial spirit in such a short time? That feathered beast is in the treasure refining pool refined by the rushing current valley. It can absorb the divine sun's aura and fire essence to improve at any time. It's normal that I can't defeat it now. Furthermore, that feathered beast has the True Yang evil slaying sword. That treasure refining pool is also a great treasure. It can absorb the energy of the treasure refining pool at any time to recover. Right now, even if this ancestor is in peak condition, fighting with it will end in a situation where both sides will suffer. It seemed like the ancestral dragon could not be counted on. The only one he could rely on was himself. Su Fong peeled off a strand of Yang spirit and entered the space of the Hunyuan sacred mirror in his body to contact Shu Wanjin. The Golden Crow said, "You possess the Origin's sacred mirror, so the karma between you and me runs deep. Therefore, before I kill you, I'll let you die with that understanding." Back then, the Celestial Venerable instructed Yi to shoot down the 9 suns. The Golden Crow and the 9 suns also fell. I am the Golden Crow and the 10th sun in the sky. Su Fong was extremely shocked. You are the Golden Crow and the divine sun in the sky. That's right. The Celestial Venerable used the 9 suns to create the Hunyuan sacred mirror. Later on, he didn't even let me off. He used the Tang Valley to refine the treasure refining pool and seal me inside to refine the True Yang evil slaying sword for him. At this point, the Golden Crow's eyes suddenly became sharp and filled with resentment. In order to refine the Hunyuan sacred mirror, the 9 suns fell, the sun god race was exterminated, and I was shackled for countless years. The Celestial Venerable treated me so unfairly. Right now, I don't know if he's dead or alive. His world and universe are also facing destruction. This is also his retribution. And you, since you possess the Hunyuan sacred mirror and cultivate the cultivation techniques and divine abilities gathered by the Hunyuan sacred mirror, you are also the successor of the Celestial Venerable. What the Celestial Venerable owes me will be repaid by you. I want to suppress you and refine your primordial spirit in the treasure refining pool for eternity. I want to refine your body and world into an indestructible Dharma treasure. Not only that, I want to control the Celestial Venerable's world and universe, become the ruler of the myriad worlds, and control the fate of all things. As it spoke, the Golden Crow's eyes flickered with excitement. Su Fong laughed involuntarily. With your appearance, you want to replace the Celestial Venerable and become the ruler of the myriad worlds? Ancestral Gragon laughed loudly in Su Fong's inner world. Well said. With this feathered beast appearance, you want to become a supreme existence like the celestial venerable? Golden light burst out from the golden crow's body and instantly burned into flames. It let out a thunderous roar. You dare to laugh at me? Su Fong mocked and ridiculed again. When the celestial venerable was here, why didn't you resist? Now that the celestial venerable's whereabouts are unknown and the evil god is about to descend and destroy the myriad worlds, you jump out like a clown and try to dominate the myriad worlds. You are such a cowardly and despicable thing. No wonder this old dragon calls you a feathered beast. Good. I originally planned to go to the myriad worlds to find you after fusing with the true young, evil vanquishing sword. I didn't expect you to take the initiative to come to the profound casting palace. It's no different from seeking your own death. Now, you actually dare to humiliate me. I want you to live a life worse than death. The golden crow gritted its teeth and burst out with a monstrous flame divine might that covered the sky, covering Su Fong. You want to suppress my Su Fong? A feathered beast like you is not qualified. Just as Su Fong mocked the golden crow, he had already joined forces with Shu Wanjin to activate the Origin Sacred Mirror. He had already accumulated power and was ready to attack. With a flip of his right hand, the Origin Sacred Mirror appeared in his palm and faced the quasi-great crow. Chi! As the black and red yin-yang fish swam on the surface of the mirror, it changed into a boundless power of the evolution of yin and yang of heaven and earth. It suddenly burst out and swept across the entire inner space of the profound casting palace. Under the terrifying power of the yin-yang transformation of the Origin Sacred Mirror, the golden crow's divine might collapsed layer by layer and returned to its original state. Even the golden crow itself was shackled by the power of the Origin Sacred Mirror. This is the Origin Sacred Mirror refined with the 9 suns. Its power is indeed extraordinary. Unfortunately, in the hands of a low-level existence like you, it's difficult to unleash its true power. Don't even think about suppressing me. The golden crow let out a maniacal laugh filled with disdain and suddenly flapped its wings. While its laughter was still reverberating, a loud boom came from the treasure refining pool. A red light shot into the sky, and a divine sun that was 100 feet in size slowly rose. Although it was many times smaller than the real divine sun, the divine might that it exuded was no different from the divine sun. A dazzling light pillar suddenly burst out from the divine sun and hit the divine might of the Origin Sacred Mirror. Rumble. The two forces that could be said to be the most powerful forces in the universe clashed together and caused a series of earth-shattering explosions. The space of the profound casting palace collapsed in the explosion. The giant mountain outside also shook violently and collapsed. The entire Advent Palace, from the second level to the depths and the periphery, was shaken violently. The power of the yin-yang transformation was melted by the power of the divine sun that rose from the treasure refining pool. The power of the divine sun was also reduced to nothing by the power of the yin-yang transformation of the Origin Sacred Mirror. As expected of the treasure refining pool refined by the rushing current valley. Not only can it refine treasures, but the golden crow can also release such a powerful attack. Su Fong had always been successful in using the Origin Sacred Mirror. However, there was an exception this time. He could not help but be shocked. Kid, you can actually use the Origin Sacred Mirror to such an extent. You are really powerful. Even this ancestor has to admire you. The ancestral Gragon saw the power of the Origin Sacred Mirror and was also shocked. QL11, he realized that if Su Fong really wanted to kill him, even without the Beast card, Su Fong could easily kill him with the Origin Sacred Mirror when he was sealed. However, the golden crow is a divine bird that was born in the rushing current valley. The treasure refining pool is a treasure refined by the rushing current valley. Although it is not as good as your Origin Sacred Mirror, it is not far behind. The golden crow can control the treasure refining pool and absorb the fire-type essence in the treasure refining pool to quickly recover. Even if you have the Origin Sacred Mirror, you will not be able to fight against it. Leave quickly. This ancestor will help you. Old dragon, don't let me down. The golden crow stared at the Hunyuan holy mirror in Su Fang's hand. The Hunyuan holy mirror is indeed extraordinary. With such a treasure and the true yang evil vanquishing sword, it is entirely possible for me to slay the evil god and replace the heavenly lord as the supreme ruler of this universe. His eyes were filled with possessiveness and greed. He flapped his wings and turned into a stream of light, attacking Su Fang. The ancestral Gragon's figure flashed out of Su Fang's body. He let out a dragon roar and crossed his arms. A golden light shot out and turned into a dragon claw that was hundreds of feet long. With unstoppable power, it appeared in front of the golden crow in a flash. Chi! The golden crow was hit by the terrifying primordial spirit power contained in the dragon roar. He staggered. At this time, the dragon claw landed on him and tore his body into two. From the small divine sun above the treasure refining pool, a red light shot out and fell on the golden crow's broken body. The golden crow's body turned into a burning flame. A moment later, a new body was formed. It looked unscathed. Looking at the ancestral Gragon, the golden crow said hatefully, "Damned old loach, you were used as a mount by the heavenly master. Now that you've finally escaped, you're willing to be ordered around by the heavenly master's successor. Today I'll kill you too. You loser. Have you forgotten how ugly you were when I plucked out all your hair and pulled out all your hair back then? If I were at my peak, how could I allow a feathered beast like you to be so arrogant in front of me? Kid, hurry up and leave." The ancestral Gragon's all-out attack failed to kill the golden crow. He did not linger and dove into Su Fang's body. Su Fang, who had long been prepared to escape, released the power of the yin-yang world from his body. He instantly transcended heaven and earth. Taking advantage of the shattered space inside the dark casting palace, he jumped out of this universe and broke through the restrictions of heaven and earth. He rushed out of the invisible barrier of heaven and earth. A mere lesser lord has the ability to transcend heaven and earth. No wonder he became the successor of the heavenly master. If I wait for him to grow, who in this universe can stop him? This time, even if I have to exhaust my origin, I'll kill you. Chapter 2557. Su Fang unleashed his ability to transcend heaven and earth and arrived in the chaotic void beyond the heavens. After successfully ascending to middle-rank lord level in the first level of the Advent Divine Palace not long ago, he had transcended heaven and earth, and the time he could stay in the chaotic void had doubled. From a short span of a dozen breaths, he could stay in the chaotic void for nearly half an hour. Whoosh upon arriving in the chaotic void beyond the heavens, Su Fang secretly heaved a sigh of relief, even though he was shackled to an astonishing degree and was like a speck of dust floating in the void. Unexpectedly, in the next moment, the Tao runes of destiny from the heavenly secret life shrinking technique and the heavenly secret true script from the heavenly secret mystery suddenly flashed rapidly. The imminent fatal danger made Su Fang's soul tremble in fear. The ancestral Gragon also warned loudly, "Kid, be careful. That feathered beast is coming." Swoosh! The sun god of the golden crow drove the true yang evil vanquishing sword and shot out of the void. Swift and fierce sword chi and supreme pure yang divine power instantly swept through the chaotic void for thousands of miles and enveloped Su Fang. Even a creation divine weapon would not be able to unleash its full power outside the heavens and the universe. It was like a giant whale that had left the ocean. No matter how powerful it was, it would only be trapped alive on land. However, Joshuan divine weapons that surpassed creation divine weapons were different. They could still unleash astonishing power in the chaotic void. "You want to kill me, Su Fang? How can I let you do as you wish?" Decisiveness and viciousness flashed in Su Fang's eyes. He had no choice but to fight now. "Celestial treasure, you were born with my blood. You were schemed against by the golden crow's puppet and became the sword spirit of the true yang evil vanquishing sword. Why are you being controlled by it and trying to kill me?" Su Fang let out a thunderous roar. Buzz! The true yang evil vanquishing sword trembled, and its attack slowed. Celestial Treasure's primordial spirit had been swallowed by the true yang evil vanquishing sword and become its sword spirit, but it still retained a certain level of self-awareness. Su Fang's words still had an effect. Celestial Treasure's primordial spirit began to struggle in the inner world of the true yang evil vanquishing sword. Since you've become the sword spirit of the true yang evil vanquishing sword, you must obey my will. How can you resist? The sun god of the golden crow roared angrily. The essence blood of the sun god race's descendant that had fused into the true yang evil slaying sword turned into an irresistible willpower, forcing the heavenly treasure to lose its sense of self and submit to the will of the golden crow, causing the true yang evil slaying sword to unleash its power. At this moment, a mysterious purple chi surged out from Su Fang's body, and the void divine might of a magic treasure burst forth. Buzz, buzz, buzz. After the transformation of the purple chi magic spirit, in addition to the great pregnant purple chi that was produced when the true yang evil punishing sword was born, it really did not disappoint Su Fang this time. The true yang evil vanquishing sword trembled under the power of the purple cloud Dharma spirit. The heavenly treasure also wanted to break free from the control of the golden crow's will. It actually showed signs of submitting to the purple cloud Dharma spirit. The terrifying divine might released by the true yang evil exterminating sword that could tear apart the primal chaos also vanished in an instant. The ancestral Gragon exclaimed in Su Fang's inner world. That's the purple cloud Dharma spirit. As expected of the one and only spirit treasure in the world, it can even control the Xian Bao. Su Fang did not expect to be able to control the true yang evil vanquishing sword with just the purple cloud Dharma spirit. That was the Xian Bao, not a magic treasure. QL11, the divine might of the purple cloud Dharma spirit, was just by himself a breather. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Su Fang flashed out and disappeared from the primal chaos outside the heavens. When he reappeared, he was already inside the Advent Divine Palace in the second-level space. The golden crow once again controlled the true yang evil vanquishing sword and followed closely behind. Su Fang's eyes trembled, and a domineering aura of an overlord shrouded his divine body. You dare to pursue me so relentlessly? Do you really think that I, Su Fang, am easy to bully? Su Fang grabbed with his hand, and the origin divine mirror appeared in his hand. Then, he used the power of the great perfection stage, and the divine light in his eyes suddenly burst out, locking onto the true yang evil vanquishing sword. The mirror was erected. Chi, chi, chi. The primordial chaos sacred mirror erupted with a red light, instantly enveloping the golden crow sun god and the true yang evil vanquishing sword. The divine mirror of origin can suppress any life form or magic treasure. I want to see if the divine mirror of origin is stronger or if the true yang evil slaying sword is stronger. The red light instantly covered the golden crow sun god and the true yang evil slaying sword. Su Fang began to activate the primordial chaos sacred realm with all his might. The red light that enveloped the golden crow sun god and the true yang evil punishing sword instantly burst into flames, causing the divine power of the true yang evil punishing sword and the true yang evil punishing sword to be incinerated layer by layer. Even the golden crow sun god was about to melt in the nine yang true fire. Puff! The sun god of the golden crow was incinerated into ashes, and the true yang evil slaying sword was burned red by the nine yang true fire, moving uncontrollably toward the mirror. The origin sacred mirror is so domineering. The golden crow's voice was filled with shock. The true yang evil slaying sword erupted with a burst of sword chi, tearing apart the flames and the divine might of the origin sacred mirror. It broke free of its shackles and swiftly entered the void, disappearing without a trace. Even the origin sacred mirror is unable to suppress the true yang evil slaying sword. I must obtain such a treasure. His plan to seize the true Yang evil-slaying sword had failed once again, causing Su Fong to be filled with unwillingness and disappointment. His desire to possess the true Yang evil-slaying sword became even stronger. Boom! A burst of divine flame power soared into the sky from the dark casting palace, which had already turned into magma, and instantly enveloped the entire second level of the Advent Palace, forming an astonishing world shackle and divine flame power that enveloped Su Fong. The flames burned, twisting time and space, incinerating all things. The entire second level of space had completely turned into a world of flames, and layers of fire wave shackled Su Fong within. The Golden Crow also began to go all out, activating the power of the treasure refining pool to the extreme, intending to shackle Su Fong in one fell swoop and then kill him. Swoosh! 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 Flaming figures continuously charged out of the flames. These flaming figures were not cultivator puppets controlled by the Golden Crow's divine flame power, but condensed from the flames of the treasure refining pool. Each flaming figure had the height of a Lord God, and one of them had the Golden Crow's origin energy aura, reaching the peak of the Emperor realm. Clearly, it was a clone condensed from the Golden Crow's own origin energy and the flames of the treasure refining pool. Su Fong said in surprise, "Why hasn't the Golden Crow's true body appeared? Could it be?" The ancestral Gragon said, "The Golden Crow has been sealed in the treasure refining pool by the Heavenly Sovereign, so it can't completely leave the treasure refining pool. It can borrow the power of the treasure refining pool, but it is restricted by the treasure refining pool. However, even if the Golden Crow's true body doesn't appear, so many puppets are enough to make you suffer. Even if you kill them all, it will be meaningless. The Golden Crow can use the treasure refining pool to create countless more puppets like this. Don't count on this ancestor. That feathered beast has the treasure refining pool and the true Yang evil vanquishing sword. This ancestor can't defeat it. Moreover, this ancestor has already expended a lot of energy to help you. If I continue to attack, I'm afraid this ancestor's origin energy will be damaged. This ancestor has long advised you to run for your life, but you only want to get the true Yang evil vanquishing sword. Now you're in trouble, aren't you?" The ancestral Gragon then splashed another scoop of ice water on Su Fong's head. Su Fong raised his eyebrows. A peak Emperor Realm Master and a steady stream of puppets with the height of a Lord God. They were also shackled by the divine power of the treasure refining pool. That was not all. The Golden Crow had used the true Yang evil vanquishing sword repeatedly just now, so it was obviously a little exhausted. If he waited for it to recover and used its sun soul to control the true Yang evil vanquishing sword again, it would be quite dangerous. Moreover, the Golden Crow had the treasure refining pool, so its recovery speed was astonishing. Fatal danger could come again at any time. It seems that I have to use the Origin Sacred Mirror again at all costs. Su Fong's eyes flashed with ruthlessness and decisiveness, but he knew very well that even if he used the Sacred Mirror again, he might not be able to escape alive. Suddenly, an ethereal voice rang out in Su Fong's mind. "Boy, do you want this Daozu to help you again?" Shi Xian Daozu. Unexpectedly, a wisp of Shi Xian Daozu's primordial spirit hidden in his body suddenly spoke up and offered to help him. Su Fong refused without hesitation. Daozu's good intentions. Su Fong appreciates Su Fong's kindness. I can still deal with the current crisis, so there is no need to trouble Daozu. What kind of existence was Shi Xian Daozu? He was a supreme master, countless times more powerful than a celestial venerable. Although it was just a wisp of his primordial spirit, he could easily kill the Golden Crow. However, Su Fong still refused very decisively. Why? Su Fong never thought that a pie would fall from the sky. Shi Xian Daozu's primordial spirit was residing in Su Fong's body, and it helped Su Fong at a dangerous moment. It was not as simple as just valuing Su Fong's talent, especially when Su Fong just realized that many things had been controlled by the celestial venerables. He realized even more deeply that he was the most reliable and no one else could be relied on. Who could say for sure whether or not there was a huge trap hidden in this supreme creation? Each time Shi Xian Daozu saved him, the price he would have to pay in the future would be even greater. Due to this, he decisively refused Shi Xian Daozu's good intentions. With such a Dao heart and resolve, no wonder you can reach this step. Not bad, not bad. Shi Xian Daozu's voice was full of praise. It gradually left Su Fang's mind as suddenly and mysteriously as it had come. Su Fang was about to activate the origin sacred mirror again. Suddenly, a golden rainbow tore through the divine flame shackles. One end of the golden rainbow immediately extended in front of Su Fang. A figure that had merged with the golden rainbow appeared beside Su Fang. Su Fang was very surprised. The piercing sun golden rainbow. Heavenly maiden, it is so dangerous. Why have you come? You are here, so I naturally came. Heavenly maiden Luo's casual voice was like thunder. It exploded in Su Fang's mind, and even in the ethereal destiny. You are here, so I naturally came. The Destiny Dao text from the life shrinking technique flashed rapidly in Su Fang's mind. The scene that had happened in the prison suppression codex had been erased by Ancestor Luo long ago. But now, as the Destiny Dao text flashed, it reappeared in Su Fang's memory. It was as if his memories and fate that had been obscured by darkness had been forcefully torn apart by the life shrinking technique at this moment. Let's go. Chapter 2558. The vast space where the yellow clouds floated was cold and silent. Whoosh! A golden rainbow tore through the yellow clouds, causing them to tumble violently. Finally, the golden rainbow was obstructed by the yellow clouds formed by the high-grade energy aura. It slowed down rapidly and finally stopped in the yellow clouds. After a flash of golden light, two figures appeared. It was Su Fang and Goddess Luo, who were escaping from the second level of the Advent God Palace. The piercing sun golden rainbow was extraordinary. After being activated by Goddess Luo, it broke through the world of flames created by the treasure refining pool and came here directly. Where is this? Su Fang fixed his eyes on it. Everywhere he could see were thick yellow clouds. Even with Su Fang's perfection stage ability, he could only see a distance of 100 feet. These yellow clouds were formed by high-grade energy from beyond the heavens. It was many times denser than the second level. Even an Emperor Realm expert would find it difficult to move, let alone fly here. We actually came to the deepest part of the Advent God Palace. Su Fang was not surprised and immediately calmed down. Although the Golden Crow was extremely powerful and had the treasure refining pool and true Yang evil vanquishing sword, it could not have chased them all the way here. Otherwise, it would have left the Advent God Palace long ago and run amok in the myriad worlds. Su Fang's main purpose of entering the Advent God Palace was to enter the deepest part of the palace and save Shu Wanjin. This was just right. Although Su Fang and Goddess Luo could absorb high-grade energy aura, they could not help but be shackled in such thick yellow clouds. However, their lives were not in danger. Instead, it was a holy land for them to cultivate. Goddess, after you recover, I have something to tell you. Su Fang stared deeply at Goddess Luo. His gaze seemed to penetrate through the endless years and see through Goddess Luo's present and past lives. Goddess Luo was a little flustered and quickly asked, Su Fang, were you injured just now? It's fine. Su Fang smiled and shook his head. He continued, let's talk after I recover. Next, QL11 Su Fang sat cross-legged in the yellow clouds and absorbed high-grade energy aura to recover from the huge consumption. Goddess Luo also came to another yellow cloud and sat cross-legged to cultivate. Su Fang's absorption ability and recovery speed were astonishing among the high-grade energy auras that were lethal to other cultivators. In addition, Su Fang extorted a few drops of dragon blood from the ancestral Gregon, so his cultivation speed was once again restored to its previous astonishing level. Inside Su Fang's inner world, ancestral Gregon sensed Su Fang's recovery speed and was quite shocked. He sighed and said, Kid, You have such amazing ability, you will definitely not be a fish in a pond in the future. Sooner or later, you will truly transcend this universe. Why do you have to risk your life to fight that feathered beast for a xianbao? Not listening to this ancestor's advice, you went for wool and came home shorn this time, right? Ever since Su Fong embarked on the path of cultivation, we have experienced countless failures. However, when have we not climbed back up and finally surpassed one peak after another to reach our current height? If you don't even have the courage to accept failure, how can you talk about reaching the peak? Although I failed to snatch the true yang evil vanquishing sword this time, so what? It won't be long before I kill my way back and suppress that golden crow to snatch the true yang evil vanquishing sword that belongs to me. Su Fong let out a clanging sound, not discouraged or depressed at all. Ancestral Gragon praised. This ancestor still underestimated you. I thought you would not be able to recover from this setback. Only by becoming braver with every setback can you finally reach the peak. Look at this ancestor. I have experienced so many storms and waves in my life, even being treated like a mount and being bullied. Didn't I still endure it in the end? This old dragon began to flatter himself whenever he had the chance. With a thought, Su Fong rolled up a lump of soul marrow nether milk and appeared in front of Ancestral Gragon. There were about a dozen drops. Ancestral Gragon was surprised and delighted. Kid, when did you become so generous all of a sudden? I also hope that you can recover to your peak state as soon as possible so that you won't be as useless as you were in the Dark Casting Palace at the crucial moment. Kid, how dare you look down on this ancestor? If it weren't for this ancestor, forget it, this ancestor is a magnanimous person, so I won't hold it against you. When this ancestor recovers to my peak state, I'll show you my prowess. When the time comes, I'll definitely pluck all of that feathered beast's feathers and turn it into a bald chicken. Ancestral Gragon flew into a rage out of humiliation. He emerged from Su Fong's inner world in a flash and burrowed into the depths of the yellow cloud to fuse with the soul marrow nether milk. At the same time, he also borrowed the high-grade energy from beyond the heavens to recover. About 50 years later, not only had Su Fong recovered to his peak state from before, but he also felt that his cultivation had improved significantly. He rapidly stabilized at middle-rank Lord level. Apart from absorbing the high-grade energy aura, the rapid recovery was also thanks to the Ancestral Gragon's blood. That old dragon was not completely useless. Su Fong stopped cultivating and closed his eyes. Destiny is my creation. I control the heavenly secrets. The heavens punish me. I defy the heavens. Destiny is my creation. I control the heavenly secrets. The earth buries me. I destroy the earth. As Su Fong silently recited the incantation, mysterious Tao characters flew out of his divine aperture. A kind of destiny power that allowed him to control his own destiny swiftly brewed. I, Su Fong, will never allow anyone else to control my destiny. Not even a transcendent. Not even a supreme, heavenly venerable. Previously, when Goddess Luo had appeared to save him, the part of Su Fong's memories and destiny that had been erased by the Luo ancestor resurfaced once more under the destiny power of the heavenly fate life shrinking art. His acquaintance with Sanskrit in the Brahma heaven god realm. His illusory life spent in the illusory annihilation heart mirror. Also, in the internal space of the prison suppressing codex, Goddess Luo risked everything to accompany Su Fong and spend the rest of her life with him. Then, his memories were erased by the Luo ancestor and his fate was severed. Everything that had happened between him and Goddess Luo flowed through Su Fong's mind like flowing water. I finally found them all. Su Fong felt as if layers of fog had been lifted and he had seen the truth once more. His heart surged with emotion. Goddess. Su Fong passed through the yellow clouds and arrived beside Goddess Luo, who was cultivating. You recovered so quickly? Goddess Luo asked in surprise. Seeing the endless love in Su Fong's shining eyes, Goddess Luo vaguely understood. She said in a trembling voice, Su Fong, could it be that you... Su Fong nodded and said yes. After saying that, Su Fong condensed the past into a picture scroll. The past flowed like flowing water and appeared in front of Goddess Luo. When the picture scroll showed Su Fong and Goddess Luo's experience in the illusory world of the illusory Annihilation Heart Mirror. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Inside his divine aperture, the Destiny Tao characters of the heavenly fate life shrinking art suddenly moved. Then, an illusory hand reached out and tried to erase Su Fong's picture scroll. Even the memories Su Fong had just recovered and the fate karma between him and Goddess Luo were wiped away. Ancestor Luo, do you still want to stop me now? I'm no longer the me from back then. If you still want to control my fate, I'll make you pay a price first. Su Fong revealed a domineering smile. Fate is the creation and control of heaven's secrets. If I'm destroyed, everything will be destroyed. The lightning of fate suddenly exploded and struck the illusory hand. The moment the lightning of fate came into contact with the illusory hand, a portion of it was incinerated by the Tao characters. Then, after the collision and impact, it was incinerated into nothingness by the terrifying power of the lightning of fate. Not only that, far away from the Advent Divine Palace, in a desolate void in the endless space-time, suddenly, there was a cry of surprise from the void. Then, Ancestor Luo's figure emerged from the void. Ancestor Luo's body trembled. Then, he staggered and his face instantly turned pale. Although he immediately recovered to his normal state, he looked a few years younger. His aura was a little withered. It was obvious that he had been injured by the power of the lightning of fate. The lightning of fate was so domineering. It had the ability to obliterate all existences connected to fate, physical bodies, primordial spirits, and even traces of their existence. Ancestor Luo had unparalleled strength that transcended heaven and earth. However, under the power of Su Fong's lightning of fate, he still suffered considerable damage. The scene of the Advent Divine Palace appeared in Ancestor Luo's eyes. His face darkened. He said in a low voice, "Extraordinary, truly extraordinary. I didn't expect that little cultivator to grow to such a level. Even I can't control his fate." Then he snorted coldly. "Even if I can't hide your fate, you can't control your own fate. It's even more difficult to change the fate of Goddess. You'll only be annihilated in the end if you try to defy the heavens and change your fate." Goddess Luo didn't notice the invisible clash of fate between Su Fong and Ancestor Luo. She only vaguely felt that something had happened. The image condensed by the consciousness continued to change. Everything that had happened before was replayed. Although Goddess Luo's erased memories and fate couldn't be regained like Su Fong, when he saw the mental painting disappear, he felt like everything had happened again in an extremely realistic manner. When the image disappeared, Goddess Luo's face was already covered in tears. She lay in Su Fong's arms. She wanted to merge into Su Fong's body and soul, never to be separated again. Su Fong hugged Goddess Luo tightly and looked into the endless sky. "Ancestor Luo, I'll get some interest from you this time. You tried to change my fate and instigated Dongxian Zheng to target me. No matter what your motive is, I'll make you pay a heavy price. At most, I won't kill you on account of Goddess Luo. Ancestor Luo, you erased my fate. I can get it back. However, in the unseen world, my fate is still controlled. Although my strength can be considered to be at the peak of the myriad worlds, it's far from enough. I still want to surpass the peak and control my own fate. Even the heavens can't blind me. Even heavenly venerables can't manipulate my fate." Su Fong's deep eyes surged with an unyielding and resolute expression. Then, Su Fong suppressed this thought deep in his heart. Without sufficient strength, he would never think of it again. In the next decade, Su Fong and Goddess Luo forgot everything. They wanted to make up for the lost memories. They were lovey-dovey. It was like an illusion in the disillusionment mirror. "Next, I'll save Senior Sister first. Then, I'll think of a way to get the world fragment from beyond the heavens. After I merge with the world fragment, my strength will definitely increase. At that time, I'll kill my way back to the second level, suppress Jin Wu, and take the true Yang vanquishing evil sword. After a careful plan, Su Fong made a decision. Shu Wanjin was trapped in the Heaven Dao chessboard space in the depths of the Advent Divine Palace. The danger was unfathomable, and Su Fong wasn't willing to take Goddess Luo with him. He got her to stay here and absorb the high-level energy to cultivate. Chapter 2559. With the Origin Sacred Mirror as the source, Su Fong used the Great Perfection ability and the Heavenly Secret Life shrinking technique to constantly sense the location of the extreme inside of the Origin Sacred Mirror. At the same time, Shu Wanjin also used the Origin Sacred Mirror to guide Su Fong forward in the vast yellow cloud space. The spatial shackles in the depths of the Advent Divine Palace were astonishing. Su Fong felt that he had become a mortal cultivator again. He could only barely fly, so his speed was naturally very slow. Along the way, Su Fong saw ruins that had become desolate due to the high-grade energy from outer space. Everywhere was a scene of desolation and deathly stillness. Occasionally, he could see incomplete white bones in some of the ruins. He did not know whether they were left behind by the cultivators who had entered the Advent Divine Palace in search of treasures or by the peerless experts of the celestial worthy mountain. The explosion of the fragments of outer space made it extremely difficult for Su Fong to search. However, Su Fong was extremely patient. He constantly absorbed the high-grade energy from outer space to recover and cultivate. He treated the harsh environment as a kind of experience. The ancestral dragon also absorbed the high-grade energy from outer space through Su Fong's divine body to recover. However, it was not easy to completely recover. The ancestral dragon had been shackled for too long. Moreover, it was a peerless divine dragon that had transcended heaven and earth. The energy it needed to recover was too vast. Even the Devil Sky Devil Saint's body could only help it recover a small part of its body. One could imagine how much energy it would need to recover to its peak. Even with the Soul Marrow Nether Elixir helping it recover more than half of its primordial spirit, it would still need a very long time to recover to the peerless strength it had in the past. Time continued to pass as Su Fong searched and advanced. Unknowingly, more than 300 years had passed. A group of palaces appeared in the sight of Su Fong's great perfection ability. Although most of the palaces were broken and incomplete, with floating debris and broken restrictions everywhere, as well as areas of chaotic energy and laws, this group of palaces still gave Su Fong a shocking feeling of vastness and grandeur. There must be peerless treasures of the celestial worthy mountain in the past in those palaces that are not completely broken. Looking at the palaces that were surrounded by layers of restrictions from afar, Su Fong's eyes became hale and hearty. However, he dismissed the idea in the end. The palace that came from the exalted celestial mountain was not a place that anyone could casually enter and exit. Perhaps, like Shu Wanjin, the slightest bit of carelessness would trigger the restrictions and be trapped for tens of millions of years, or even die inside. Due Shu Wanjin's location, the map that she had given Su Fong was the route. Shu Wanjin's route was the map that she had previously given Su Fong was now useless. Shu Wanjin also couldn't give Su Fong too much guidance. Su Fong could only rely on the life-shrinking art and his great perfection ability to carefully fly through the ruins. Another 50 years passed. Su Fong went deep into the ruins of the palace. Wong. In the depths of his divine aperture, some mysterious Taoist scriptures kept flashing. In the end, they condensed into the phantom image of a descending clone. Of coincidence, he had Fong's reincarnation. Moreover, it was close at hand. His incarnation was less than 3,000 feet away. Although the reincarnation was much weaker, it still had the will of the evil god. At such a close distance, it naturally noticed Su Fong. If they were in nature, a distance of 10,000 feet would be no different from standing face to face for experts like them. But now, they were shackled by the aura of outer space. If not for Su Fong's heavenly secret life shrinking technique, which could sense the aura of fate, he would not have noticed the reincarnation. Swish! A divine shadow leaped out from Su Fang's eyes and instantly turned into a phantom that floated between the heavens and the earth. Like a part of the universe, it swept across the sky toward the descending doppelganger. Oomph. The reincarnation snorted. A blood-red radiance shot out and turned into a blood sun. The collision caused a shocking energy impact. It swept away the surrounding yellow clouds, creating a vacuum of outer space. Su Fang retreated more than 100 feet from the impact of the collision. The reincarnation's reincarnation also swayed. It was obvious that he was injured by the golden crow. His strength had dropped, and he had fallen to the level of a transcendent. I'll let you be arrogant for now. One day I'll suppress you. The reincarnation's blood-red eyes swept over Su Fang. Then it disappeared without a trace. Su Fang hesitated for a moment. He gave up the idea of chasing after the reincarnation. Although the reincarnation's strength had dropped, it was still comparable to a peak emperor. Moreover, it had an extremely powerful ancestral fiend by its side. In the depths of the reincarnation divine palace, Su Fang could not kill the reincarnation even with the ancestral fiend's help. The reincarnation's reincarnation must be here for the world fragment from outer space. His vitality has been greatly damaged, and he no longer has the strength of a transcendent. Although he has the ancestral fiend's help, it won't be easy to find and obtain the world fragment in the depths of the reincarnation divine palace. I'll let him go for now. Once I rescue senior sister Shu Wanjin and find the world fragment, I'll be able to find the reincarnation's reincarnation. When that time comes, not only will I have to obtain the world fragment, but I'll also have to kill it. With that thought, Su Fang no longer bothered with the reincarnation's reincarnation. He continued to sense for the aura of the extreme inside of the origin sacred mirror. The reincarnation's reincarnation divine palace appeared from a thick yellow cloud nearly 100 miles away. I didn't expect that I would encounter a mere middle-rank lord and have no choice but to flee. The reincarnation's reincarnation divine palace felt humiliated to be forced to flee from Su Fang. It's unbelievable that Su Fang could escape from the Dark Caste Palace. Even the ancestral fiend has been subdued by him. If I don't get rid of him, he'll be a huge problem sooner or later. Su Fang made the incarnation feel threatened and even fearful. As long as this lord obtains the Jiuxuan's world fragment and fuses with it, it won't take long for me to recover my strength. At that time, Su Fang will no longer be a threat. I still have to suppress the golden crow and seize the true young evil vanquishing sword. The only troublesome thing is the primordial spirit consciousness of Shi Xiandaozu that lives in Su Fang's body. I don't understand why a primordial spirit consciousness of Shi Xiandaozu would come to this universe. The more the clone thought about it, the more fearful he became. He frowned. Su Fang flew carefully among the ruins of the palaces. After another 10 years, he arrived outside a withered peach forest. This peach forest covered an area of 10,000 miles, and it was not made of ordinary peach wood, but of dragon-taming wood, which was very difficult to find in the 10,000 realms. Su Fang's dragon-taming real body was also cultivated with dragon-taming wood as the foundation. Some of the remaining withered peach trees were as thick as 10 people hugging together. Such a large peach forest. How magnificent was it in the past? Unfortunately, it was all gone now. QL 11. Why did you come to the dragon-taming court of the heavenly venerable? Dragon-taming court? Old dragon. You've been here before? Nonsense, this ancestor is the ancestral dragon. Since this dragon-taming court is called dragon-taming court, it must be related to the divine dragon. In fact, this dragon taming wood was born by absorbing this ancestor's dragon chi. In the past, every era, the heavenly venerable would send his incarnation to the dragon taming court to teach the Tao to his disciples. This ancestor also listened to the heavenly venerable's teachings here before. The place where the heavenly venerable taught the Tao to his disciples? I heard that every once in a while, there would be peerless geniuses from the 10,000 realms who would enter the heavenly venerable mountain. Could it be that they were taken in as disciples by the heavenly venerable? Where did those disciples go now? That's right. Every era, the heavenly venerable would open the heavenly venerable mountain to recruit disciples. After these disciples have achieved something, they would not stay in this universe, but be sent to the Jiuquan's divine realm. What is the heavenly venerable's motive for doing this? In this universe, the heavenly venerable is the supreme ruler who rules over everything in this universe. However, in the Jiuquan's divine realm, he is not considered a top expert. The reason he sent a large number of disciples to the Jiuquan's divine realm is naturally to cultivate his own power. I see. Where are those disciples of the heavenly venerable now? Most of them should still be in the Jiuquan's divine realm. This ancestor is not very sure. Even if I know, I can't tell you in detail. He finally knew something about the heavenly venerable. Su Fang continued to ask, Old Dragon, do you know the approximate location of the study room where the celestial venerables keep their cultivation techniques and divine abilities? Study room? There is a study room in the dragon taming court. In the past, after the heavenly venerable finished teaching, he would summon his disciples in the study room. As for whether there are any cultivation techniques or divine powers, this ancestor does not know. Why? Are you here to look for the heavenly venerable's cultivation techniques and divine powers? That is not the case. This time, I entered the Palace of Advent to save a loved one. When the time comes, I will need your help. The conversation with the ancestral dragon ended. Su Fang transmitted his thoughts to Shu Wanjin through the origin sacred mirror. Dragon taming court? When I entered the heavenly venerable study room, I passed by a forest of dragon taming trees. However, there is still a portion of them left. Looks like you have found the right place. The day we meet again is just around the corner. Shu Wanjin's cold voice was filled with excitement. She had been trapped in the heavenly chessboard for most of her life. Now that she finally had the chance to regain her freedom, how could she not be excited? I am finally going to meet Senior Sister. Su Fang's heart pounded rapidly. Under Shu Wanjin's guidance, he slowly flew towards the center of the dragon taming court. When he arrived at the center of the dragon taming court, he saw a row of towering pavilions standing in the middle of the ruins. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The Heaven's Secret Life shrinking technique also reacted at this moment. It had sensed the aura of the extreme inside of the origin sacred mirror. If they were in the natural world, the Heaven's Secret Life shrinking technique would have sensed the other side of the origin sacred mirror. However, they were in the depths of the Palace of Advent. Due to the obstruction of the high-grade energy from beyond the heavens and the heavenly chessboard's aura, it was only now that they sensed it. There was a broken barrier around the pavilion. It had already lost its defensive function and was barely keeping the pavilion from collapsing. Su Fang was about to enter the pavilion when Shu Wanjin's voice sounded from the origin sacred mirror again. Su Fang, you must be careful. Don't be trapped in the heavenly chessboard like me. Chapter 2560. Passing through the messy main hall of the pavilion, Su Fang came to a room that was relatively well preserved. A seemingly ordinary study appeared before Su Fang's eyes. The interior of the study was very simple. There was a table, a chair, and a broken bookshelf. It did not look much different from the study rooms of scholars in the mortal world. However, the moment Su Fang entered the room, it was as if he had stepped into a dragon's den. With Su Fang's current strength, even if he entered a dragon's den, he could turn it into a pile of ruins with a flip of his hand. He would not be so nervous. That was because this study was the study of the Supreme Empyrean who had created this universe. There were no barriers or restrictions in the room. Everything was normal. However, Su Fang was not relaxed at all. He looked at the chessboard on the table. Su Fang had seen this chessboard with the help of the origin sacred mirror before. Moreover, Su Fang had a Dharma treasure from the Luo clan that had been refined to imitate this chessboard. The Heavenly Tao chessboard. On the chessboard, the black and white chess pieces were arranged to form an independent and transcendent space-time. In the middle of the black and white chess pieces sat a figure. It was Shu Wanjin. Boom! As soon as Su Fang's gaze came into contact with the chessboard, he immediately felt the scene before him change drastically. It was as if he had entered a starry sky from the real world. In a vast starry sky, huge stars floated, emitting dazzling light and a majestic sound of the heavenly Tao that was like a beating heart. All the stars were in a state of stillness, but it gave Su Fong a feeling that it contained infinite mysteries of the heavenly Tao. Whoosh! The chess pieces on the chessboard suddenly moved. In an instant, the stars moved and the galaxy rotated. A vast and boundless power of the heavenly Tao erupted from the chessboard, wanting to suck Su Fong's primordial spirit and divine body into it. "Watch out!" Shu Wanjin cried out in alarm. This time, her voice was not heard by the Origin's sacred mirror, but by Su Fong's primordial spirit that had been sucked into the heavenly Tao chessboard. At this moment, Su Fong had the strength to suppress a supreme Empyrean. How could he be so easily suppressed by an ownerless treasure? Just as Su Fong's primordial spirit and divine body were shaken, the power of the yin-yang world erupted from his body. His entire body was like a universe about to shatter the power released by the heavenly Tao chessboard and break free from its control. Little did he know that at this moment, from the depths of his divine aperture, a huge amount of true scriptures from the sky, evolution mystery scripture, gushed out. Su Fong had comprehended some of them a long time ago, but he still couldn't comprehend some of them. QL11, the might of the evolution of heavenly mysteries swept out from his divine aperture, causing the heavenly Tao chessboard to suddenly become quiet. The stars that moved according to the trajectory of the heavenly Tao, and even the spiraling galaxy, all came to a stop. Su Fong's primordial spirit consciousness, which was almost devoured, easily withdrew from the inner space of the heavenly chessboard. Everything returned to normal. Su Fong was shocked and surprised. Why can the heavenly Tao chessboard be so tamed by the heavenly Tao chessboard? Could it be the heavenly Tao chessboard can be controlled by the heavenly Tao chessboard? Shu Wanjin's shocked and admiring voice came from the Origin sacred mirror. Su Fong, I didn't expect you to be so powerful now. Back then, I merely took a look at the heavenly Tao chessboard and was sucked into the inner space of the heavenly Tao chessboard. I couldn't fight back at all. But now, you can break free so easily. Senior sister, you're judging me with your old eyes. The current me isn't that little kid from the minor world all those years ago. Su Fong chuckled, and he was rather complacent in his heart. Ancestral Gragon suddenly exclaimed from Su Fong's inner world. Su Fong's heart moved. He asked, Old Dragon, do you know about the heavenly Tao chessboard? Heavenly Tao chessboard? No, this is not the heavenly Tao chessboard. It is the supreme treasure of a heavenly venerable. The heavenly Tao chessboard. Heavenly Tao chessboard? Could it be a creation divine artifact? Why can't I sense any innate creation chi from it? Although this heavenly Tao chessboard is not a creation divine artifact or a Xian Bao, it is more powerful than a creation divine artifact. It is comparable to a Jiuxuan divine artifact. This is a great treasure. I didn't expect it to be left here by a heavenly venerable, comparable to a Jiuxuan divine artifact. Su Fong's eyes shot out a scorching light with a swoosh. In the dark casting palace, he didn't get the Xianbao, true yang evil slaying sword, and almost died there. He didn't expect to find a Xianbao here. How could he not be excited? Old Dragon, tell me more details. This heavenly Tao chessboard is not simple. Ancestral Gragon finally had a chance to show off his skills. He told Su Fong everything. It turned out that the heavenly Tao chessboard, like the Origin sacred mirror, was a magic treasure refined by a heavenly venerable. Although it was not a Xianbao and was still limited to this part of the universe, it was more powerful than an ordinary Xianbao. It was only inferior to the true yang evil slaying sword. Why was that? It turned out that the sky divination astrolabe was created by absorbing the essence of the stars that were first born in the universe after the creation of heaven and earth. The celestial master used his supreme divine sense to create a universe that was countless times more condensed. It contained the infinite mysteries of the evolution of heaven and earth. The Heavenly Tao chessboard was a supreme magic treasure that used the stars as chess pieces to deduce the changes of the Heavenly Tao. The main ability of the Heavenly Tao chessboard was to deduce the Heavenly Tao through the Heavenly Tao chessboard. Inside the Heavenly Tao chessboard, there were countless stars condensed from the essence of the universe. Naturally, they could also enter the inner space to cultivate. According to ancestral Gragon, when the Heavenly Venerable taught his disciples, he would let them play chess with the Heavenly Tao chessboard to test their cultivation. The winner would be arranged to enter the inner space to cultivate as a reward. Using the stars as chess pieces and the Heavenly Tao as the chessboard, how powerful and bold was that? It was indeed the work of a Heavenly Venerable. Su Fong was shocked and amazed. This Heavenly Tao chessboard is really a good treasure. However, it is created from the essence of the universe of this part of the universe. Even if it can surpass the divine tool of creation, it seems that it can't be compared with the Xian Bao, right? Boy, you have underestimated the Heavenly Tao chessboard. It is a magic treasure refined by a Heavenly Venerable. How can it be compared with the Xian Bao? The Heavenly Tao chessboard contained in the Heavenly Tao chessboard was not as simple as deducing the universe of this part of the universe. Even the Heavenly Tao of the Jiuquan gods' realm of the gods can be deduced through the Heavenly Tao chessboard. Tell me, how can such a treasure be ordinary? Su Fong sucked in a cold breath. The Heavenly Tao chessboard. It was not a treasure that could release powerful power, but a peerless treasure that could be used to deduce the Heavenly Tao and improve one's cultivation realm. The Heavenly Tao of the Jiuquan gods' realm of the gods was above the universe of this part of the universe. However, as the ancestral Gragon said, no matter how profound the Heavenly Tao was, it was still a vast and endless evolution through the most basic Dharma and energy. If I can integrate the Heavenly Tao chessboard, does it mean that I can comprehend it and cultivate my universe of this part of the universe? Through the Heavenly Tao chessboard, I can deduce the Heavenly Tao chessboard. No matter how profound the Heavenly Tao chessboard is, it will be easy to understand, and I will have a card up my sleeve. With the Heavenly Tao chessboard, it also means that even when I am in outer space, I can use the Heavenly Tao chessboard to deduce the Heavenly Tao chessboard to cultivate the Jiuquan gods' realm of the gods' realm of the gods. I can achieve twice the result with half the effort. Su Fong looked at the Heavenly Tao chessboard with an extremely hale and hearty look in his eyes. He was in high spirits. The ancestral Gragon poured cold water on Su Fong unceremoniously. Kid, don't be happy too early. The Heavenly Tao chessboard is a celestial venerable level magic treasure. How can a mere intermediate lord like you control it? Don't be like what happened in the Dark Casting Palace. Not only did you not get the treasure, but you also got trapped in the Heavenly Tao chessboard. At that time, even I won't be able to save you. Su Fong suppressed his desire to get the treasure and asked, Old Dragon, whether or not I can get the Heavenly Tao chessboard is secondary. One of my close relatives is trapped in the Heavenly Tao chessboard. Is there any way to save her? Su Fong's original plan was very simple. He wanted to join forces with Shu Wanjin and use the power of both yin and yang sides of the Origin Holy Mirror to forcefully break the Heavenly Tao chessboard. After listening to the ancestral Gragon's explanation, Su Fong realized that even if the two of them joined forces to activate the Origin Holy Mirror, they might not be able to break the Heavenly Tao chessboard. Moreover, they might even destroy the Heavenly Tao chessboard and bring about unexpected consequences to Shu Wanjin. The ancestral Gragon shook his head in his inner world. You can't save her. You can't save her. Why? Who can save a magic treasure personally refined by a celestial venerable? You can use the Origin Holy Mirror to break the Heavenly Tao chessboard. However, when the chessboard collapses, it means that your family will also be annihilated. Using brute force definitely won't work. You can only use your skills. Skills. Do you see the endgame on the Heavenly Tao chessboard? Unless you can break this Heavenly Tao chessboard, you won't be able to save your family. It's just a chessboard. What's so difficult about it? The ancestral Gragon snorted. You sure talk big. This chessboard is a heavenly Tao chessboard. Unless you have a realm that transcends this world and understand the universe like the back of your hand, you'll only be qualified to play with the heavenly Tao chessboard. You're only an intermediate chief god now. You don't even have the right to play with it. How are you going to break this heavenly Tao chessboard? Su Fong asked. Old dragon, don't you have the ability of a transcendent? Are you also unable to break this heavenly Tao chessboard? The ancestral Gragon said embarrassedly, although I have the ability of a transcendent, in terms of comprehension of the heavenly Tao, well, I'm not qualified to play with the heavenly Tao chessboard. The ancestral Gragon's ability came from his talent and was not obtained through cultivation like a cultivator. His true realm was not too high. He was like a boar who could easily lift a huge rock. If he were to play chess, he would probably be worse than some children. Su Fong felt as if a bucket of ice water had been poured over his head. Instantly, his entire body turned cold. The purpose of this trip to the Advent Palace was to rescue Shu Wanjin. According to the ancestral Gragon's words, wouldn't that be a failure? The ancestral Gragon continued unhurriedly. If you want to break this heavenly Tao chessboard, you'll have to have the chessboard manual to do so. Su Fong was shocked and stunned. Chessboard manual? What's that? The ancestral Gragon said, the so-called chessboard manual is just an example that I came up with. It's a supreme, remarkable power for comprehending the mysteries of heaven and deducing the heavenly Tao. This remarkable power is a supreme, remarkable power that the celestial Venerable One obtained from the Jiuquan divine territory. It's also through this remarkable power that the celestial Venerable One was able to refine the heavenly Tao chessboard. A light flashed across Su Fong's mind. What remarkable power is that? That remarkable power is called the Heaven's Mystery Solution. In the Jiuquan divine territory, it's considered a supreme, remarkable power. Only some of the top forces have this remarkable power. If one can master this remarkable power, not to mention breaking the heavenly Tao chessboard, it's not impossible to even obtain the heavenly Tao chessboard. The Heaven's Mystery Solution. Chapter 2561. In the yin-yang heavenly wheel, Su Fong witnessed the woman from outer space, Dong Xianrong, using the heavenly mystery solution and the life-shrinking technique. At that time, he realized that the origin of the heavenly mystery solution and the life-shrinking technique was extraordinary. Unexpectedly, the heavenly mystery solution was actually the chess manual of the heavenly chessboard. It could even be used to control the heavenly mystery solution. Coincidence? It seemed too coincidental, but thinking about it carefully, it was not a coincidence. The heavenly mystery solution was originally a supreme magic that deduced the mysteries of the heavenly Tao, while the heavenly mystery solution was a magic treasure that used the stars as the seed and the heavenly Tao as the plate to develop the heavenly Tao. The two naturally had an inevitable connection. Su Fong also understood at this time why the heavenly mystery solution would automatically erupt and easily dissolve the power of the heavenly chessboard when it was sucked into it. Seeing Su Fong's happy look, the ancestral dragon snorted and said, "Boy, what's there to be happy about? Could it be that you can really solve the heavenly chessboard?" Su Fong said with a smile, "Others can't do it, but it doesn't mean that I, Su Fong, can't do it. You, the dignified ancestral dragon, were also suppressed by me. Let me ask you, who in the myriad of worlds can suppress you?" The ancestral dragon said angrily, "Humph, you can control this ancestor not because of your strength, but because of your luck that you happen to get the beast taming card. This ancestor doesn't believe it. Could it be that your luck is heaven-defying to such an extent that you've grasped the Empyrean profound solution, a supreme divine ability from beyond the heavens?" Su Fong said provocatively, "Old dragon, why don't we make a bet? If I can get the heavenly mystery solution, I will win and you will give me 100 drops of dragon blood. If I lose, I will immediately give you the beast taming card. From then on, you will regain your freedom and be free to roam. Do you dare?" The ancestral dragon was very cunning and would not be easily fooled. He said in surprise, "Do you really have the heavenly mystery solution?" Su Fong sneered and said, "It's fine if you don't dare to bet, but the great ancestral dragon is actually as timid as a mouse. Ancestral Gragon laughed out loud. Brat, you are the successor of the Empyrean. You might have really obtained good fortune from the Empyrean and mastered the heavens divination solution. Yet, you dare to make a bet with this ancestor? Do you think this ancestor is an idiot? Why would I fall for your trick? As expected of the ancestral dragon, he was not fooled at all, making Su Fong's scheme go to waste. Heaven Prying Eye. Su Fong performed the heavenly divination eyes. His eyes surged with the light of the heavenly ways, evolution, and seeing through the secrets of heaven. He stared at the heavenly way chessboard on the divination astrolabe, where the chess pieces were arranged to form a heavenly way chessboard. The ancestral Gragon was extremely shocked. Soon after, he gnashed his teeth. As expected, this kid has actually grasped the mysterious solution of heaven's divination and even tried to cheat this ancestor of my blood essence. Shameless, despicable. This kid is actually able to grasp the mysterious solution of heaven's divination. Extraordinary, extraordinary. As expected of the successor of an Empyrean, in Su Fong's eyes, the vast stars moved and evolved into endless mysteries of the heavenly way. Su Fong stared at the divination astrolabe with his heaven-prying eye for a long time. His brows gradually knitted together. The heavenly way chessboard on the divination astrolabe seemed simple, but contained endless mysteries of the heavenly way. With the level of the mysterious solution of heaven's divination that he had grasped, it was still not enough to break the heavenly way chessboard, let alone take the divination astrolabe and further integrate it. However, after thinking about it, he felt relieved. If it was so easy to break the heavenly way chessboard and take the divination astrolabe, then the divination astrolabe would not be a supreme treasure comparable to the Xian Bao. Su Fong began to settle down. He continued to use the mysterious solution of heaven's divination to deduce the heavenly way chessboard. As time went by, Su Fong comprehended the mysterious solution of heaven's divination and verified it through the heavenly way chessboard. At the same time, Su Fong's understanding of the heavenly way chessboard became more and more profound through the continuous deduction of the heavenly way chessboard. However, Su Fong also paid a heavy price for this. The heavenly way was ethereal, and the mysteries of heaven were unfathomable. How could it be easy to pry and comprehend? Again and again, Su Fong's primordial spirit was under great strain from the deduction and verification. His eyes turned red, and it looked as if blood was about to drip out. It was very frightening. His aura also became dispirited day by day. While deducing the mysteries of heaven, he also received a backlash from the heavenly way, which caused Su Fong's luck to be constantly consumed. In the mortal world, many fortune tellers who were very accurate in their deductions were mostly blind or had other disabilities. Why was this? It was because they were prying into the mysteries of heaven and suffered a backlash from the heavenly way, which caused them to lose their luck and caused their bodies to be injured. The mysteries of heaven that mortals could pry and were not even considered superficial, and they ended up in such a miserable state. Moreover, Su Fong was deducing the most profound mysteries of the universe at this time. The backlash from the heavenly way was naturally extremely shocking. If not for the supreme luck brought about by the purple Chi Dharma spirit, just the loss of luck from the backlash of the heavenly way would be unbearable for him. The main reason was that Su Fong's understanding of the solution of the heavenly way was not enough, and his own cultivation was not yet qualified to play the chessboard of the heavenly way. The solution of the heavenly way was like a chess manual. How could one become a chess master just by relying on a chess manual? One must repeatedly ponder and comprehend, practice, and have extraordinary talent to finally become a chess master. 3 years passed. Puff! Su Fong opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood. Immediately after, his eyes also overflowed with blood, and his eyes completely turned red. From the void, the ethereal repulsive force of the heavenly way constantly surged out, wanting to expel Su Fong from this part of the universe. The purple Chi Dharma spirit was activated by Su Fong, and mysterious purple Qi circled around him, constantly neutralizing the repulsive force of the heavenly way. However, the protective divine power formed by the purple Qi was gradually suppressed. Once the protective divine power was broken, Su Fang's divine body would be crushed by the repulsive force of the heavenly way. Ancestral Gragon exploded in his body. "Kid, do you want to die?" Shu Wanjin also emitted an anxious and worried voice through the origin sacred mirror. "Su Fang, hurry up and stop. If you continue, you won't be able to bear it." Su Fang's face was full of pain, but the corners of his mouth curved into an unyielding and unruly smile. Senior sister has been trapped in the heavenly way for tens of millions of years, enduring endless loneliness. If she can bear this, why can't I bear it? If it weren't for senior sister, I would have died in the small world. How could I reach the peak of the myriad worlds? What's the point of enduring some pain now? Su Fang's reply to Shu Wanjin and Ancestral Gragon contained an unyielding will and incomparable determination. Shu Wanjin was silent. Because she cultivated the 9 transformations, her personality became cold. In addition, she was chased by the G people and had no choice but to escape to the descending world divine palace. She always bore a grudge against her father and clansmen and kept everyone at a distance. Although the misunderstanding between her and her father was cleared up, Shu Wanjin still couldn't let it go and was indifferent to her father. Even her father was like this, let alone others. At this moment, Shu Wanjin's heart was filled with a surge of warmth that she had never felt before. Stupid as a pig. Ancestral Gragon was also shocked, but he scoffed at Su Fang's actions. Which of those supreme experts who reached the peak of the myriad worlds weren't vicious and merciless? In Ancestral Gragon's eyes, Su Fang's actions were purely soft-hearted and extremely stupid. However, unknowingly, Ancestral Gragon felt closer to Su Fang and let down his guard. After 3 years of continuous comprehension, deduction, and verification, Su Fang finally couldn't hold on any longer. He closed his eyes that were dripping with blood and stopped. Using the power of time, he created a time array around him. Su Fang started to recover. A drop of soul marrow milk was absorbed by his essence spirit. His essence spirit, which was on the verge of collapse, quickly regained its vitality. "I'll go crazy with you for once. I'll give you my dragon blood." Ancestral Gragon took the initiative to extract his blood essence to help Su Fang recover his vitality. With the help of the soul marrow milk and Ancestral Gragon's blood essence, Su Fang recovered rapidly. At the same time, Su Fang didn't hesitate to take out a large number of Dharma treasures and let the purple aura Dharma spirit devour the artifact spirits to help it recover rapidly. After recuperating in the time array for more than 100 years, Su Fang walked out of the array and started to deduce the heavenly Tao chessboard again. While enduring the huge exhaustion and pain, Su Fang also unknowingly gained a lot. The Heaven's Derivation Mystic Solution contained endless profound principles of the heavenly Tao. In the past, Su Fang had only comprehended a little bit of it. This time, using the Heaven's Derivation Mystic Solution to deduce the heavenly Tao chessboard allowed his comprehension of the Heaven's Derivation Mystic Solution to increase at an astonishing speed. At the same time, his comprehension of the heavenly Tao had verified his own world and universe, causing his cultivation realm to gradually increase. The world in his body was also rapidly undergoing tremendous changes. In the world in his body, the stars were moving and the galaxy was spinning. It released the power of the heavenly Tao's operation, causing the natural laws of the world to collide and transform once again. It became deeper, more advanced, and more perfect. As the heavenly Tao changed, all matter and energy in the world also transformed. The spirit Qi became more abundant and advanced. On the vast land, life was brewing. The changes in the heavenly Tao caused life to transform even further. On the land, the budding of life forms appeared. Su Fang was exhausted to the limit again and again before recovering again. Such madness had caused the ancestral dragon to be completely shocked. Lunatic, this kid is a lunatic. Why did this ancestor go crazy with him? It caused this ancestor to consume so much blood essence. This ancestor has suffered a great loss this time. About 1,000 years had passed. QL11, Su Fong's soul marrow nethermilk was almost exhausted. The ancestral Gragon had also lost too much blood essence. He became old and dispirited. Bang! After Su Fong recovered again, he suddenly opened his eyes. This time, he did not deduce the heavenly Tao chessboard. Instead, his hands were constantly changing hand signs. A profound and abstruse aura of the heavenly Tao's evolution spread out from his hands. Heavenly Tao chessboard, break for me! Su Fong suddenly let out a thunderous roar. A Xianguang fell on the chessboard. Boom! All the chess pieces on the chessboard suddenly floated up and turned into stars, bursting out dazzling starlight. Immediately, the starlight converged, and all the chess pieces on the heavenly divination astrolabe disappeared without a trace. Shu Wanjin let out a delighted laugh. Her figure flashed out from the heavenly divination astrolabe. Chapter 2562. Shu Wanjin, who had been trapped in the Empyrean astrolabe for tens of millions of years, finally broke free and saw the light of day again. Su Fong looked over with excitement. Shu Wanjin was wearing a long black robe, which was covered with profound divine runes and emitted an extremely cold aura. The black robe was not a protective magic treasure, but a Taoist robe formed by her Nining power. It was comparable to a royal-grade divine artifact. Shu Wanjin's long black hair reached her waist. Her face was originally beautiful, but her face was unusually pale without a trace of blood. Her icy eyes were as deep as the Nine Nether, emitting a coldness that could freeze one's soul. Between her eyebrows, there was a heroic spirit that no woman had, and a domineering aura that was decisive. Her aura was void and emitted an extremely cold, Yin aura. As soon as she appeared in the study room, the Nine Yang power in Su Fong's body was restless. Their auras also had a kind of Yin and Yang blending perfectly. Ancestral Gragon said in Su Fong's body, "This is the person you want to save? She is quite extraordinary. She still has the aura of the sun of the heavenly venerate." Su Fong cupped his fists at Shu Wanjin and said happily, "Congratulations, senior sister. You have finally regained your freedom." Shu Wanjin also smiled. "It's all thanks to you. If not for you, Before she could finish her sentence, Buzz. Su Fong's and Shu Wanjin's bodies exploded at the same time. Immediately after, a red mirror flew out from Su Fong's body, and a black mirror flew out from Shu Wanjin's body. The Origin Yang mirror and the Origin Yin mirror of the Origin sacred mirror flew out at the same time. Bang! The two mirrors joined together to form a perfect, simple mirror. The Origin Yang mirror and the Origin Yin mirror of the Origin Yang mirror and the Origin Yin mirror of the Origin Yin mirror finally merged into one, becoming a complete magic treasure. The number one divine artifact in the myriad of worlds, the Origin sacred mirror. Su Fong and Shu Wanjin were dumbfounded. They did not expect the Origin sacred mirror to automatically merge into one. He could only wait and see. Su Fong's Nine Yang power automatically surged out of his body. Shu Wanjin's Nine Yin power also surged out of her body and fell into the Origin sacred mirror. The Crimson mirror and Black mirror simultaneously surged with the aura of extreme Yang and extreme Yin. Subsequently, Yin and Yang blended and evolved, erupting with an ethereal aura that rushed out of the space of the Advent Palace and disappeared between heaven and earth. In an instant, Su Fong and Shu Wanjin both had the illusion that at this moment, the Origin sacred mirror had become one with the heavenly Tao, dominating everything in the universe, including the great Tao laws, energy, matter, and life. At this moment, the two of them had become one with the Origin sacred mirror, instantly becoming the embodiment of the heavenly Tao. They controlled everything in the heavenly Tao. Both of them had a strong feeling that at this moment, with the help of the Origin sacred mirror, The two of them had the supreme strength to control the heavenly Tao, surpassing the sovereign realm and reaching the height of transcendence. In this part of the universe, they could be said to be invincible. Even a transcendent expert like Ancestor Luo would be crushed. Even the ancestral dragon felt the aura of the primordial origin sacred mirror in Su Fang's body and was terrified. He trembled. The primordial origin sacred mirror has become complete. It's so shocking. This is the true power of the primordial origin sacred mirror. Terrifying, it's really too terrifying. It even surpasses the true yang evil slaying sword. Not only the ancestral dragon. After the origin yin mirror and the origin yang mirror merged into the complete origin sacred mirror, the aura that erupted instantly filled every corner of the universe, causing the heaven and earth to tremble. At this moment, the incarnation that was in the depths of the Advent Palace was the first to feel the aura of the origin sacred mirror. In an instant, he felt that the heavenly Tao had a strong will that was dominating the universe. The incarnation was shocked and terrified. What kind of aura is this? Could it be that the heavenly master's will has awakened? Then the original body is in danger. I have to get the world fragment at all costs and leave this place quickly. In the treasure refining pool of the dark casting palace, a flame soared into the sky and transformed into a human-shaped golden crow. It looked at the depths of the Advent Palace with eyes filled with respect and fear. Could it be that the Heavenly Master's will has descended? The Heavenly Master actually still exists in this universe? It was sealed in the treasure refining pool by the Heavenly Master for countless years. It was filled with resentment towards the Heavenly Master. Previously, it was extremely arrogant and wanted to replace the Heavenly Master. However, it did not even have the courage to face the Heavenly Master. No, that aura doesn't come from the Heavenly Master. It's the origin sacred mirror. Damn it, it's that human. I have to get rid of him as soon as possible. The golden crow quickly sensed the source of the terrifying aura. It immediately used the treasure refining pool to form a clone and went straight to the depths of the Advent Palace, in the heaven and earth. Could it be that the Heavenly Master's will has awakened? Ancestor Luo escaped from the void. His face was also filled with shock and surprise. His eyes looked at the endless void. In an instant, it transcended the shackles of heaven and earth and landed on the interior of the Advent Palace. So it's Su Fang. The Heavenly Lady and him cannot be severed. It's a mess. I have to settle this with him. Ancestor Luo muttered to himself. At the highest point of the vault of heaven seemed to be torn apart, revealing a huge crack. A majestic, illusory image of a huge mountain appeared from the crack. The Heavenly Master Mountain also revealed its true appearance at this moment. The divine sun in the vault of heaven suddenly became much brighter and more dazzling. The surrounding bloody sun emitted a bloody glow. The deathly aura and evil aura that filled the heaven and earth were instantly suppressed. The origin sacred mirror finally became complete. Its domineering aura instantly shook the heaven and earth. The entire process seemed to take a long time, but it actually only lasted for a dozen breaths of time. The origin sacred mirror suddenly split into two. The Yuan Yang mirror slowly flew into Su Fang's body, while the Yuan Yin mirror entered Shu Wanjin's body. Su Fang and Shu Wanjin looked at each other. Their eyes were filled with surprise and shock. They had long expected that after combining the Yuan Yang mirror and the Yuan Yin mirror into the origin sacred mirror, it would bring them unimaginable supreme strength. However, they had never imagined that the strength it would bring them would be so shocking. That feeling earlier was not an illusion. Both of them knew very well that if they truly joined forces to activate the complete origin sacred mirror, they would be able to defeat any powerhouse in this universe. Of course, this included transcendence. At the same time, they could also use the origin sacred mirror to reshape everything. However, that would require them to activate the origin sacred mirror's power to its limit. With Su Fang and Shu Wanjin's current middle-rank Lord-level cultivation base, It was difficult for them to achieve that for the time being. They would probably have to wait until they had cultivated the 9 Yang 9 transformation and 9E9 transformation to the number of 9 before they could fully activate the origin Sacred Mirror's power. With their current cultivation base, activating the complete origin Sacred Mirror would still be a heaven-defying power. It was not as if they were completely powerless against transcendence. They might even be able to defeat them. However, the consumption was equally shocking. In a short span of a dozen breaths earlier, the origin Sacred Mirror had automatically absorbed the duo's 9 Yin and 9 Yang powers, pushing them to the limit of what they could bear. Clearly, their abilities were still insufficient to control the origin Sacred Mirror with ease. We've finally rescued Senior Sister and integrated the Yin and Yang of the origin Sacred Mirror. From today onwards, who in the universe can stop me? Su Fong? Su Fong had successfully achieved his goal on this trip to the Advent God Palace. He had rescued Senior Sister Shu Wanjin and integrated the origin Sacred Mirror. He was overjoyed and proud at the same time. The little brat from back then has finally grown up. Shu Wanjin stared at Su Fong, her heart filled with emotion. Little brat, the ancestral Gragon, could not help mocking him in Su Fong's inner world. QL11, Su Fong smiled sheepishly. Senior Sister, I'll talk to you after I collect the Empyrean Astrolabe. I've just escaped. I need to stabilize my Taoist heart. Shu Wanjin nodded and said. Su Fong took out a large number of elixirs and resources for Shu Wanjin to cultivate. He then separated a Yang spirit and entered the Empyrean Astrolabe's inner space. After deciphering the heavenly chessboard, although Su Fong was still unable to control the Empyrean Astrolabe, he could freely enter the inner space. Among the stars, Su Fong's Yang spirit could sense the inner world of the Empyrean Astrolabe. It was filled with pure and mysterious natural energy essence and connate chaotic qi that surpassed the power of the world. It was very similar to Su Fong's yin-yang world power, but it was much purer and more vast. It was all essence. It was no wonder that Shu Wanjin had been trapped in the inner space of the Empyrean Astrolabe for so long. Even without Su Fong's fortuitous encounters and opportunities, her cultivation speed was still so shocking. Apart from her outstanding talent, it was mainly related to the cultivation environment of the Empyrean Astrolabe. What a joke! Even the Heavenly Lord's disciples had benefited greatly from cultivating in the inner space of the Empyrean Astrolabe, let alone Shu Wanjin. In addition to the energy seed that Mystery had given her, her current middle-rank, Lord-level cultivation base was not shocking at all. With Su Fong's divine power, the ancestral dragon sensed the aura of the inner world of the Empyrean Astrolabe. It immediately shouted, "Kid, hurry up and send me into the Empyrean Astrolabe. My recovery speed will multiply in there. That way, I'll be able to help you. It's best that you come in and cultivate as well. It'll be very beneficial for you." Since it would benefit the ancestral dragon's recovery, Su Fong naturally would not be stingy. Its ability recovery meant that Su Fong's overall ability had improved tremendously. Of course, it was great news. The ancestral dragon automatically came out of Su Fong's inner world. Dragon Chi, Big Goblin? Su Fong, since when did you have such a powerful powerhouse among your slaves? Sensing the ancestral dragon's void aura, Shu Wanjin was shocked. When Su Fong suppressed the ancestral dragon, Shu Wanjin had no idea. When the ancestral dragon attacked in the Dark Caste Palace, Shu Wanjin did not witness it. Moreover, with the ancestral dragon's ability, Shu Wanjin could not sense the ancestral dragon that was hiding in Su Fong's inner world. That was why she was so shocked and had a whole new level of respect for Su Fong. How dare you take me for a big goblin? How dare a little girl like you act so presumptuously in front of me? The ancestral dragon was extremely unruly. At that moment, apart from Su Fong, it did not care about anyone in the 10,000 worlds. Shu Wanjin mistook it for Su Fong's slave, which enraged the ancestral dragon. A golden gleam flashed in its eyes, and a terrifying pressure came over, causing Shu Wanjin to stumble. The ancestral dragon did not continue to make things difficult for Shu Wanjin. It urged Su Fong impatiently, "Hurry up and send me into the Empyrean astrolabe." "Senior sister, it's the ancestral dragon. It's just an old loach. Don't be afraid of it," Su Fong explained to Shu Wanjin. The ancestral dragon. Chapter 2563. Ancestral Gragon. Old Loach? The first divine dragon in the world was being called an old loach by Su Fong. Shu Wanjin's head buzzed. What shocked Shu Wanjin even more was yet to come. Looking at the ancestral Gragon, Su Fong's expression suddenly darkened. He shouted coldly, "Old dragon, how dare you be rude to my senior sister?" Sensing Su Fong's anger, the ancestral Gragon cupped his fists at Shu Wanjin reluctantly. "Little girl, this is my temper. Please don't take it to heart." The ancestral Gragon was apologizing to a middle-rank, lord-level human girl. Shu Wanjin felt like she was dreaming. Or perhaps this old dragon before her was a fake ancestral Gragon. The ancestral Gragon said to Su Fong angrily, "Call me Lord Ancestral Gragon. If you dare call me Old Loach again, I'll fall out with you immediately." "Old Loach, why don't you fall out with me?" Su Fong sneered disdainfully. "You don't want to enter the Empyrean astrolabe or the soul marrow elixir? Or have you just recovered your primordial spirit and forgotten the taste of the beast token? Brat, you win." The ancestral Gragon gritted his teeth. However, his old life was in Su Fong's hands. Now that he had a favor to ask of Su Fong, how could he really fall out with him? Su Fong knew when to stop. He had to teach the ancestral Gragon a lesson from time to time. However, he could not go overboard. Su Fong was an unparalleled overlord in both the mini and great worlds. Naturally, he knew the principle of combining kindness and power. Then, Su Fong unleashed a divine power that enveloped the ancestral Gragon. At the same time, he unleashed the heavenly divination solution and sent the ancestral Gragon into the Empyrean astrolabe. Then, Su Fong's true body entered as well, leaving Shu Wanjin alone. She was still immersed in intense shock. The little brat from back then had now grown to a height that even she could not reach. She found it difficult to adapt. As soon as the ancestral Gragon appeared in the Empyrean astrolabe's interstellar world, he immediately let out a delighted dragon roar. He transformed into his true body and pounced on a star. At that moment, he did not look like the ancestral Gragon. Instead, he looked like a wolf demon's incarnation. Hiss, hiss. The ancestral dragon opened its mouth and took a deep breath. The essence of the star was sucked into its stomach. Half an hour later, the star had completely turned into a dead star. Its essence was completely devoured by the ancestral dragon. The ancestral dragon was still unsatisfied. He rushed out again and swallowed the stars wantonly. Such a terrifying, devouring ability caused Su Fong to be extremely shocked. Su Fong was not idle. Activating the 9 Suns' 9 transformations and the World Tree, he wantonly absorbed the pure essence energy and connate chaos chi in the air. At the same time, Su Fong also began to ponder over the arrangement of the stars in the inner world of the sky spill astrolabe, as well as their orbits. He continued to comprehend the sky spill arcane scripture, striving to be able to control the sky spill astrolabe, a supreme treasure that was comparable to the Xianbao. Time flew by. It felt like 1,000 years had passed in the blink of an eye. Su Fong flashed out of the inner space of the sky spill astrolabe and appeared in the heavenly venerate's study. After a round of devouring, the primordial spirit and life force that he had used to decipher the heavenly Tao chessboard, as well as the 9 Suns' power that the Origin Sacred Mirror had automatically absorbed when it merged into one, had now recovered to peak condition. Su Fong had regained the lofty appearance of the supreme overlord of the great world. He looked like he was only 17 or 18 years old. He was in high spirits and looked hale and hearty. The inner space of the sky spill astrolabe was filled with the highest essence aura of the universe. After 1,000 years of cultivation, Su Fong had not only recovered to his previous state, but he had also made a breakthrough. His cultivation base was climbing from a normal state of a middle-rank lord to its peak condition. Such a speed of improvement was no less than the astonishing speed of those below the path integration realm. That was not all. Su Fang's continuous comprehension and cultivation of the sky spill arcane scripture over the past 1,000 years, especially with the changes of the stars in the inner space of the sky spill astrolabe, allowed him to verify and comprehend the sky spill arcane scripture. It was only then that Su Fang realized how vast and mysterious the sky spill arcane scripture was. This divine ability could not be considered a true divine ability, but it could be considered the general outline of the cultivation of the heavenly Tao. It contained the endless mysteries of the evolution of the heavenly Tao. Not only could one deduce and comprehend the true essence of the heavenly Tao in this universe, but one could also deduce and comprehend the heavenly Tao of the Jiuquan God territory. Even the supreme divine abilities of the origin sacred mirror, the yin-yang change, and the four divisions change, could not surpass the scope of the sky spill arcane scripture. Just like the heavenly secret life contraction skill, the more Su Fang cultivated, the more he felt the vastness and profoundness of the sky spill arcane scripture. This made Su Fang feel how small this universe was, and how vast the true outer space was. The benefits that Su Fang gained from this were also astonishing. As his comprehension of the heavenly Tao deepened, the 9 suns' 9 changes were no longer so mysterious and vast to Su Fang. His own cultivation realm of the universe also rose, and the world in his body began to undergo a new transformation. The next transformation would be as amazing as the yin-yang change and the 4 divisions change, and Su Fang was full of expectations. There was also a great gain that made Su Fang extremely excited. The sky spill astrolabe. This supreme treasure will be mine, Su Fang's. Su Fang looked at the sky spill astrolabe, his eyes flashing with divine light. It turned out that after 1,000 years of cultivation, Su Fang's current mastery of the sky spill astrolabe was enough for him to take the sky spill astrolabe. Su Fang began to form hand seals. Numerous hand seals were casually formed in Su Fang's hands. These hand seals were formed by him through his comprehension of the heavenly divination unravel. They seemed to be simple and without any power, but they actually contained the profound profundities of the heavenly Tao. As the hand seals were formed, the sky spill astrolabe trembled continuously and finally shot out a ray of starlight, which quickly shrank and flew into Su Fang's palm, and was taken into the heaven and earth Tao palace by Su Fang. The sky spill astrolabe was now in his hands. Su Fang was overjoyed, and he was so excited that he could not close his mouth. The main reason was that this magic treasure was too useful to him. The so-called talent was talent, aptitude, and ability that one was born with and blessed by the heavens. Su Fang knew that he was definitely not some top-notch cultivation genius. The reason why he could reach such an amazing height in a mere 300,000 years was because of the origin sacred mirror, the 9 changes of the 9 suns, and the supreme luck brought by the purple chi dharma spirit. If he left this universe, these things that helped Su Fang reach the peak might not be as heaven-defying as before. However, now that he had the sky spill astrolabe and the sky spill arcane scripture, it could help him deduce the mysteries of the heavenly Tao, improve his cultivation speed and ability to cultivate divine skills, which also meant that his cultivation talent had increased. With such ability, even if he went to outer space in the future, he would have the capital to compete with the peerless geniuses of the Jiuquan divine realm. QL11, however, in order to completely integrate with the sky spill astrolabe, he still needed to cultivate the sky spill arcane scripture. Su Fang, congratulations on obtaining the sky spill astrolabe. Shu Wanjin congratulated Su Fang. Su Fang said, "If it wasn't for senior sister, I wouldn't have achieved what I have today, and I wouldn't have the opportunity to obtain the sky spill astrolabe. You have achieved what you have today because of your own efforts and luck. I just gave you the opportunity, and you grab it tightly. At the same time, I also want to use you to help me escape. You don't have to thank me. Besides, you and I are family. If I thank you, won't we be distant?" Shu Wanjin resumed her cold tone, but the way she looked at Su Fong was like an elder sister looking at her younger brother who had grown up. She was gratified and proud. "Family," Su Fong nodded. After being together for so many years, Su Fong had long regarded Shu Wanjin as an elder and family member. He then asked, "Senior sister, what do you plan to do next?" "I will naturally follow you. Only when the Origin Sacred Mirror is combined can it unleash its greatest power. Now that the calamity is sweeping across the myriad worlds, you will face greater danger. It's better for me to stay with you. Besides, I don't have many family members left in this world, and you are the closest. Where else can I go if I don't follow you?" "That's great. After I settle some matters in the Advent Palace, I will return to the Yuan Tiangong and reunite with senior sister and master." When Su Fong mentioned Shu Yunkong, Shu Wanjin's eyes froze. It was obvious that the resentment she had for Shu Yunkong had not completely disappeared. Next, Su Fong opened a dojo in the Jinmu space in his inner world for Shu Wanjin to cultivate and temporarily. With Shu Wanjin by his side, they could combine the Origin Sacred Mirror at any time, allowing the two to possess unimaginable strength. In addition, there was the Ancestral Dragon. The old dragon had devoured an entire galaxy in the Empyrean Astrolabe for 1,000 years, causing the Empyrean Astrolabe to lose about 30% of its essence. At this time, it was recovering in a magic treasure. Although the Ancestral Dragon was not at his peak, he was able to unleash half of his strength. With Shu Wanjin and the Ancestral Dragon, Su Fong was confident that he could fight a transcendent expert like the Patriarch of Luo. Next, it's time to get rid of the Incarnation and the Golden Crow, and get the world fragment from the outer world and the true Yang evil slaying sword. The Incarnation and the Golden Crow would never have thought that I would possess such powerful strength in such a short time. Next, I must give them a big surprise. Thinking of this, Su Fong revealed a domineering smile. Walking out of the pavilion, he appeared in the ruins of the dragon subduing court. Su Fong realized that the dense outer world high-level energy that filled the depths of the Advent Palace had become much thinner. There were only faint yellow clouds floating in the air. When he entered the depths of the Advent Palace, the shocking shackles had also weakened a lot. The shackles on Su Fong's cultivation and consummate ability were less than 30% of what they used to be. Could it be that the Incarnation has already taken the world fragment from the outer world? Su Fong's heart sank. With his consummate vision and the life-shrinking technique's ability to sense fate, he projected his vision into the distance. After sensing a few times, Su Fong sensed the aura of the Incarnation in a palace ruins thousands of miles away. Fortunately, the high-level energy aura had weakened. Otherwise, even with Su Fong's consummate ability and life-shrinking technique, it would be difficult for him to sense too far away. Since the Incarnation is still here, even if he really has the world fragment, he will have to spit it out obediently. Su Fong flew across the sky in the direction of the Incarnation. Although the shackles had weakened, the Advent Palace was still filled with layers of restrictions and various chaotic areas. To Su Fong, it was still quite troublesome. He did not dare to wander around recklessly. Therefore, he could only fly, and his speed was not very fast. 3 days later, Su Fong arrived at the periphery of a dilapidated wall. In the center of the ruins, on a remnant square, stood a huge green cauldron that was about 100 feet tall. Chapter 2564. Su Fong had used the life-shrinking technique to conceal his aura, and his doppelganger's attention was completely focused on the cauldron, so he did not notice Su Fong's arrival. Su Fong sensed his doppelganger, and a look of shock appeared in the depths of his eyes. Why? In the War of the Two Realms, his doppelganger had suffered heavy injuries and was no longer as powerful as before. In the battle with the Golden Crow in the Dark Casting Palace, he had lost a Blood Sun projection in order to escape, and his strength had fallen to the level of a venerable sovereign. Su Fong had entered the Celestial Master's study in the dragon-subduing court less than 3,000 years ago. Judging from the doppelganger's aura, his strength had recovered by more than half. Although it was still far from the war of the two realms, it was obvious that he had transcended. Moreover, his divine body had become more solid and profound and exuded a high-level energy aura, not much different from the experts from outer space. Su Fong was shocked by such an astonishing recovery speed. Boy, look carefully at the giant green cauldron in front of the doppelganger. If you know the origin of that giant green cauldron, you won't be surprised at how the doppelganger recovered so quickly. Seeing the scene outside, ancestral Gragon's excited and dignified voice came from Su Fong's body. After finding the doppelganger, Su Fong also moved ancestral Gragon from the space inside the sky divination astrolabe into the world inside his body. Giant cauldron. Su Fong's attention was on the doppelganger from the beginning, so he did not pay attention to the giant green cauldron. Reminded by ancestral Gragon, Su Fong focused his attention and looked at it. The giant green cauldron looked ordinary, but in fact, it was very unusual. There were fine star patterns on the cauldron's body, which intertwined to form a vast, mysterious mark. Under the concealment of the mark, Su Fong faintly sensed a vast and boundless energy essence. Furthermore, all of them were high-grade energies from beyond the heavens. They were tens of thousands of times purer than the yellow clouds floating in the space within the Advent Shrine. This was not an ordinary high-grade energy aura, but a type of force from beyond the heavens. Su Fong asked in surprise, "Old Long, is that giant cauldron in Xianbao? Does it contain the world fragment from beyond the heavens?" Ancestral Dragon said, There are times when you make an error in judgment, kid. That huge green cauldron is not some Xianbao. There is no world fragment in it. Instead, that huge green cauldron itself is a world fragment." Cauldron? World fragment? Su Fong was confused. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't connect the giant green cauldron with a world fragment. What do you think a world fragment is like? Could it be in the shape of a piece of gravel? You're just a frog at the bottom of a well. Ignorant. Ancestral Gragon finally seized the opportunity to mock and ridicule Su Fong. Su Fong thought about it carefully and felt relieved. A world fragment was just a name, but it wasn't really the same as a fragment. The world fragment that Su Fong had obtained in a small world was something like a star lotus. However, Su Fong had never connected a world fragment with a cauldron. The two were completely unrelated. A world fragment from beyond the heavens was really strange. Ancestral Gragon showed off, similar to the world fragment in this universe. The world fragment from beyond the heavens is also the most primitive and most essential substance that was born in the mysterious world of the Joshuan God realm. Mysterious world? It was the first time Su Fong heard of it. The Joshuan God realm is just a general name. It is made up of countless mysterious worlds, just like the immortal world in the macro world or the divine world in the myriad worlds. However, these mysterious worlds are different from the self-world formed by experts. They are formed from nature, and it is with the world fragment as the foundation that they gradually condense from nature. The world fragment not only contains endless mysteries, but also a majestic and powerful supreme power. It is the source of a mysterious world. Only the cultivators who cultivate the world fragment can become the real experts in the Joshuan God realm in the future. It seemed to be similar to the world fragment in this universe. But why was it in the shape of a cauldron? Ancestral Gragon continued to explain. Possessing a world fragment also meant that one had the power to control a mysterious world. The cauldron represented supreme power and supreme power. The naturally formed world fragment contained supreme power. Possessing a world fragment not only gave one power, but also gave one the power to control a mysterious world. Therefore, the world fragment in the Joshuan God realm was a gift of supreme power and power. Su Fong finally understood. So that's how it is. He looked at it for a while. Su Fong did not see any movement from the clone, but stared at the mouth of the cauldron, as if waiting for something. Su Fong asked again, "Why is the clone not collecting the world fragment, but waiting for something?" Ancestral Gragon snorted. If the evil god descends in person, he can take away the world fragment. But how can a mere clone shake the world fragment? Why? As soon as his voice fell, whoosh, a deep starlight spiraled out from the mouth of the cauldron. The starlight suddenly shone in all directions, as if a star had appeared. Su Fong was shocked and stunned. He looked over. What appeared from the mouth of the cauldron was not a star. Inside the starlight was a yellow gemstone. The gemstone was in the shape of a lotus, exuding a starlight and a coldness that could freeze one's soul. It was pure and majestic, and all of it was the essence of origin power. As soon as the yellow lotus gemstone appeared, it quickly began to collapse, turning into a yellow cloud. Seeing that the terrifying high-level energy contained in the lotus was about to explode, the clone flashed out, rolling out a blood-red light that enveloped the lotus gemstone. Chi. The blood-red light seeped into the gemstone and immediately sealed it, stabilizing it again. The clone happily absorbed it into his body. QL11 Then, the clone sat cross-legged in front of the cauldron again and began to absorb the origin power in the lotus gemstone. Old dragon, that cauldron-like world fragment can actually nurture such a shocking gemstone? Su Fong had finally figured out where the high-level energy aura that had erupted time and time again in the Advent Palace had come from. However, he could not figure out how a world fragment from another world could nurture such a shocking lotus gemstone. This was completely different from the world fragments Su Fong had seen before. Ancestral Gragon said proudly, "This ancestor knows a lot about this. If you could be polite and humbly ask this ancestor for advice, this ancestor can explain it to you." This old dragon actually put on airs at this critical moment. Old dragon, go ahead. Old dragon, Sir Ancestral Gragon, please advise. That's more like it. Ancestral Gragon was satisfied and slowly explained to Su Fong. Different from the world fragments of this universe, the world fragment from another world not only contained supreme power, but also could continuously nurture gemstones that contained the origin power of the sealed world. Ordinary world fragments were controlled by the peerless masters of the Jiuquan God realm, and were firmly sealed inside the world core to nourish the entire world. The world fragment obtained by the heavenly venerate was obtained by him by chance. After sealing it, he brought it to this universe. The imprint on the cauldron was actually the seal left by the heavenly venerate himself, but it was already broken and incomplete. The most important thing that sealed the world fragment was now missing. According to Ancestral Gragon's analysis, due to the rise of the Blood Sun and Evil Sun, the world underwent a change, which caused the world fragment to erupt with origin power and break the seal. The key item that sealed the world fragment also disappeared without a trace from the impact. The world fragment contained amazing power, and with the heavenly venerate's seal left behind, it was impossible for the clone to take it away with his current strength. Unless he found the key thing that sealed the world fragment and merged with it, he could only let the world fragment continue to erupt with energy. However, the lotus gemstones collected by the clone were condensed from the sealed world origin power. By absorbing the origin power for cultivation, the speed of improvement was also extremely astonishing. This was also the reason why the clone could recover to such a high level in less than 3,000 years. If the clone was allowed to continue absorbing the origin power and continue to improve, not only would the clone be able to recover quickly, but it might even have the strength that it had in the Two-Realm River battlefield. The treasure that sealed the world fragment? Su Fong immediately thought of the cauldron lid-like artifact that he accidentally obtained in the periphery of the Advent God Palace. He couldn't help but ask, what's the key thing that sealed the world fragment? It's a cauldron lid that the heavenly venerate specially used to seal the world fragment. Other than sealing the world fragment, the cauldron lid has no other use. It was probably affected by the energy explosion of the world fragment and lost to some corner of the myriad worlds. It seems that there's no way to find it. Don't even think about getting the world fragment. It's better to find a way to suppress the clone as soon as possible and collect some lotus gemstones. It's already a great fortune. Su Fong looked at the giant green cauldron with desire in his eyes. This time, Not only am I going to suppress the clone, but I'm also going to get the world fragment from beyond the heavens. The ancestral Gragon snorted. Kid, don't be too greedy. You've just obtained the Empyrean astrolabe, and now you're trying to get the world fragment. Your greed knows no bounds. Even if you want to possess the world fragment, do you have the ability to do so? Su Fong snickered and said no more. He flew straight toward the clone. The clone soon noticed Su Fong's arrival. However, he did not panic at all. He stood up slowly with an air of arrogance. He did not take Su Fong seriously at all. However, when he saw Su Fong's current cultivation level, a blood-red gleam flashed in his deep eyes. At the moment, Su Fong's cultivation level was about to reach peak middle-rank lord level. Before he entered the Advent God's Palace, his cultivation level was only that of a lower-rank lord level. His speed of improvement shocked the clone, and a fierce, murderous intent surged in his heart. The clone looked at Su Fong and said coldly, Su Fong, do you really think that I won't dare to touch you just because you have the protection of a powerhouse from beyond the heavens? Su Fong shouted coldly and domineeringly, even without the protection of a powerhouse from beyond the heavens, I'm going to suppress you today. All the world origin force you've collected, including the world fragment, will belong to me. Su Fong, if you didn't have the support of a powerhouse, I would have killed you long ago. How could I allow you to act so presumptuously in front of me? Forget it. I won't kill you this time. I'll shackle you for an era and then let you out. You've repeatedly ruined my plans. Even if I shackle you, that powerhouse from beyond the heavens will definitely not blame me. Chapter 2565. Descending Avatar? Do you think I, Su Fong, am still the Su Fong of the past? The current Transcendence Realm expert is no longer an unreachable supreme existence in my eyes. Su Fong. Su Fong sneered as a supreme, domineering aura that looked down on the world arose spontaneously. A golden figure flashed out from his inner world and stood in front of him. Dragon aura rose in defiance of the heavens and swept out in all directions, shattering the descending avatar's shackles. It was the ancestral dragon. The ancestral dragon swept his gaze across the descending avatar and shouted domineeringly, Descending, let this ancestor play with you. Ancestral dragon? You have been sealed by a heavenly venerable for so many years. How much strength do you have left? If you were at your peak, this lord might have to be wary of you. But now, you don't even have the right to cross swords with this lord. The descending avatar did not think much of the ancestral dragon as he released the ancestral fiend from his body. He ordered the ancestral fiend, shackle Su Fong. Remember, don't kill him. Just seal him. No matter how heaven-defying Su Fong is, can he escape from this ancestor suppression? Lord Descending, rest assured, this time, I will definitely suppress Su Fong and eliminate all future troubles. The ancestral fiend treated Su Fong as his prey. Su Fong smiled and said to the ancestral dragon, Old dragon, it seems like no one thinks much of you and me. Then this ancestor will beat them until they're looking for their teeth on the ground. Kid, watch from the side. The ancestral dragon let out a dragon's roar and spewed out a dragon's breath. Instantly, it turned into a towering flame that transformed into a fire dragon. It let out a heaven-shaking roar and swept towards the descending avatar and the ancestral fiend with the power to incinerate the heavens. Such an astonishing aura. The descending avatar's divine light changed instantly. Impossible. How can you recover to such an astonishing state in such a short period of time? Although the ancestral dragon had yet to recover to his peak state, he was not far from it. The strength he displayed even exceeded that of the descending avatar. How could he not be shocked? Blood radiance gushed out from the clone's body and instantly condensed into 3 blood sun projections, forming a world of blood radiance. Layers of blood radiance and deathly aura surged and blocked the flames spewed out by the ancestral dragon. Ancestral fiend, I will hold back the ancestral dragon. You try to suppress Su Fong. The descent avatar sensed something amiss and immediately conjured a divine, might to sweep up the ancestral fiend. It allowed the ancestral fiend to transcend the restraints of the world and vanish from the sanguine world. When he appeared again, the ancestral fiend was already in front of Su Fong. Just as ancestral Gragon was about to save them, the incarnation controlled the world of bloody light and swept it towards ancestral Gragon. The strength of the descended avatar was much weaker than the ancestral Gragon. However, it was still possible for him to stall the ancestral Gragon with all his strength. His plan was extremely simple. He would hold back the ancestral dragon while the ancestral fiend would deal with Su Fong. As long as Su Fong was suppressed, the ancestral dragon would no longer be a threat. The Descent Avatar also guessed that the ancestral dragon had no choice but to be controlled by Su Fong due to some special reasons. Once Su Fong was suppressed, how could the ancestral dragon continue working for him? Not a bad idea. Unfortunately, you have underestimated my strength, Su Fong. At the instant the ancestral fiend appeared, Su Fong's figure entered the void as he conjured powers that transcended the world. He escaped the spatial shackles of the world and the Advent Divine Palace's interior as he vanished from his spot. Su Fong stewed out of the void and was more than 500 kilometers away from the ruins where the world fragment was. Coincidentally, Su Fong appeared on top of a broken wall and triggered the remaining restrictive spell. Then, a shocking thunderbolt swiftly swept towards Su Fong. Su Fong conjured the divine might of the yin-yang world and shattered the restrictions. He stood in midair with his hands behind his back as he looked at the ancestral fiend. Su Fong, do you dare fight this ancestor head-on? The ancestral fiend thought that Su Fong was fleeing for his life. He also knew that Su Fong had the ability to transcend the world temporarily. If he was bent on fleeing, it would be very difficult to suppress him. Therefore, he shouted loudly to incite Su Fong to fight him. As you wish, Su Fong replied domineeringly. The ancestral fiend revealed a sinister smile. With his extremely powerful body, he tore through the layers of shackles and restrictions. He brought with him torrential fiendish aura that transcended the flow of time in the real world. In a blink of an eye, he was 50 kilometers away from Su Fong. Although he was shackled in the Advent Divine Palace, with the ancestral fiend's strength at the half-step transcendence realm, fighting 50 kilometers away did not make much of a difference. Fiendish heavens and fiendish lands. I'm the heavens and earth. Fiendish aura instantly enveloped the surrounding space as it condensed into a dark sky and land. An evil fiendish world filled with dense fiendish aura was instantly created. Su Fong, surrender obediently. This ancestor promises not to kill you. You will also be spared from torture. The ancestral fiend's voice reverberated in the fiendish world like a hegemon of the heavenly Tao. His fiendish voice was like a tidal wave that contained an essence soul power that could bewitch one's Tao heart and shake one's will. The ancestral fiend was considered the most perfect and powerful existence in the myriad of worlds. His body, essence soul, and fiendish aura were extremely powerful. Even the ancestral fiend blood plate was refined with the ancestral fiend's fiendish blood as the main ingredient. It was evident how powerful his essence soul was. It even surpassed the night demon heavenly wheels owner. At that moment, the ancestral fiend was casting his essence soul's divine might. It dealt a huge blow to Su Fong's divine aperture, causing his Tao heart to waver. Thankfully, he had his second essence soul and the ancestral fiend blood plate. They were unable to penetrate Su Fong's divine aperture's defenses, but Su Fong's Tao heart wavered. Senior sister, let this ancestral fiend witness the might of the fusion of the 9 yin and 9 yang. Su Fong immediately released Shu Wanjin from the builder wood in his body. Shu Wanjin frowned slightly. I've just escaped, and I'm already fighting the legendary ancestral fiend to test my strength. This is a rare opportunity. 2 mere middle-rank lords want to fight me? Fiendish light surged in the ancestral fiend's eyes. He swept his gaze over Shu Wanjin and snorted disdainfully. Following that, he said majestically, Su Fong, release your subordinates, the Moon Emperor, as well as those big goblin and cultivators. Perhaps you'll have a chance to escape. This ancestor will give you one last chance to put up a last-ditch struggle. Just as the battle between the ancestral fiend and Su Fongda was imminent, in the ruins of a collapsed mountain range thousands of kilometers away, a fiery person covered in flames was observing the battle. This fiery person was a clone sent by the Golden Crow to kill Su Fong. His strength was at the peak of the Emperor realm. The ancestral fiend is also a top powerhouse in the myriad of worlds. He's the ancestor of all demons. How can Su Fong be his match? I only need to wait and see. When Su Fong is suppressed by the ancestral fiend, I'll suddenly strike and snatch the Chaos Origin Holy Mirror. The Golden Crow clone determined that Su Fong would definitely be suppressed by the ancestral fiend and was prepared to reap the benefits from afar. Opportunities have always been fought for by oneself. Besides, why should I, Su Fong, run for my life now? Su Fong shouted domineeringly. He formed a seal with Shu Wanjin at the same time and released the power of 9 Yang and 9 Yin. QL11, once the power of 9 Yang and 9 Yin was released, it immediately formed a fusion of Yin and Yang, forming a huge Yin and Yang vortex around the two of them. As the two of them used the supreme seal, Yin-Yang change, the Yin and Yang vortex roared like the sea, stirring up huge waves that swept out in all directions. Wherever the Yin and Yang vortex went, it was as if a hurricane had swept up the clouds. It swept up heaven and earth, causing all things in the world and the myriad of great Tao laws to return to their most primitive state. The ancestral fiend's world was engulfed by the Yin and Yang vortex. Fiendish aura flared as the fiend world's matter and space shattered layer by layer, ultimately reducing it to nothingness. Even without the Chaos Origin Holy Mirror, the Yin-Yang change that Su Fong and Shu Wanjin jointly cast was so powerful that even someone as powerful as the ancestral fiend would find it difficult to withstand it. How can two middle-rank lords possess such powerful divine powers? The ancestral fiend's world shattered, and his true body was revealed. He was trapped in the Yin and Yang vortex, and was unable to extricate himself. He could not help but be surprised and astounded. As expected of the ancestor of all fiends, he constantly cast supreme divine powers of the fiends. He transformed into a raging sea of blood at one moment, then into a 10,000-foot-tall fiend at the next, and then into a blood-colored bat at the next. He unleashed astonishing essence, soul divine might. However, under the might of the yin-yang change, all of the ancestral fiend's attacks rapidly disintegrated before they could unleash their full might. In his desperation, the ancestral fiend began to fight for his life. A 3-foot-long bloody horn emerged from the top of his head. With a hiss, it shot out a spiral-shaped bloody beam that tore a rift in the yin and yang vortex. Then, with a flash, he finally escaped the yin and yang vortex's shackles. The ancestral fiend grabbed the bloody horn and saw that it had shrunk by half. A pained expression appeared in his eyes. The bloody horn was a single-use demonic weapon that the ancestral fiend had refined after cultivating for countless years with his origin energy. The ancestral fiend was confident that even against a transcendent powerhouse, he would have a chance of survival if he released the bloody horn. However, he had been forced to use the bloody horn by 2 middle-rank lords. He had used up more than half of it. Apart from his heartache, he was also extremely astounded. He looked at Su Fong and Shu Wanjin with a gaze filled with fear. In the myriad of worlds, there were not many people or matters that could strike fear in the ancestor of all fiends. Rumble. Right on the heels of that, the ancestral fiend's maniacal and elated laughter sounded from the world fragment, reverberating throughout the entire Advent Palace. The ancestral fiend looked over in shock and saw that the ancestral fiend had transformed into a monster with a dragon's head and a human's body. It was launching a ferocious attack on the clone that had descended in a domineering and overbearing manner. Under the ancestral fiend's attacks, the clone that had descended retreated repeatedly. Its divine body was shattered by the ancestral fiend's claw imprints over and over again. It was reconstructed over and over again. However, each time it was reconstructed, the clone would expend a great deal of energy. The three blood sun projections around, they were growing dimmer and dimmer. When the three blood sun projections were completely depleted, it would mean that the Tao Defiance Alliance had exhausted countless lives and condensed the power of the blood sun and evil sun to completely perish. The ancestral fiend had been sealed for countless years. It was only at this moment that he truly displayed his incomparably powerful strength, suppressing the clone that had descended in this world, a transcendent powerhouse. The descent of the evil god was a supreme existence that was about to destroy the heavenly Tao. Although it was only a clone, it was still extremely powerful, crushing powerhouses across the myriad of worlds. During the Great War between the two worlds, it had fought the transcendent powerhouse, Patriarch Luo. It had been so awe-inspiring, domineering, and evil back then. However, at this very moment, it was being crushed and destroyed by the ancestral fiend. This scene caused the ancestral fiend and the Golden Crow clone to tremble with fear. The ancestral fiend hesitated for a moment. Then, he unleashed his movement technique, transforming into a beam of demonic light that shot out of the Advent Palace. The ancestral fiend was actually defeated by Su Fong. Even his clone that had descended in this world is no match for the ancestral fiend. How did they become so powerful in less than 3,000 years? Especially that Su Fong. Once they deal with their clone that had descended in this world, they'll definitely not let me go. Even with the help of the treasure refining pool and the true Yang evil slaying sword, it'll be difficult for me to suppress them.